Creators Game, episode 23. I'm Daya Miller.
Jay Smith.
Chris Vale.
And how long of a break did we take this time? We need to stop taking such a break.
I think we took too long of a break.
Yes, it's definitely been, again, almost 2 weeks?
Almost 2 weeks, yep.
Yeah, we definitely need to get back on track and start doing this weekly. But let's just catch up. A lot of people want to know about everyone's personal lives. I did ask questions on Instagram about, asking the people what they want us to talk about. And a lot of people are asking about our personal lives. So I'm going to ask those questions later on. But I just want to know what you guys been up to, since the last pod. What have you been up to, Jay?
I've been doing a lot of scouting. I've been at a lot of unofficial team runs for various teams, junior and senior, watching, paying attention, taking notes. I've been to probably been to more ALL games in the last couple of weeks than I've been in all year. Even found the time to go take in a couple of hockey games, only because some of my Rivermen players are playing hockey. And that's loading up on tools to start bending sticks and getting as much sleep as I can. Well, I can.
Sounds like some old man things right there. And so I heard you talk about the ALL. We're going to be talking about them later on in the show. So stay tuned for that if you want to, hear about the ALL, because a lot of people have been hitting us up from there saying they got things to say. So we're going to be talking about that. Chris, what have you been up to? I know you've been at the Little NHL.
Yeah. The one thing was at the NHL from Sunday till this morning, and it was a fun time. Met some fans out there and watched some good games. And I watched a good U11 game versus Moose Cree. They won it in the last 5 seconds. One of the Six Nation players went down and made a nice pass, and they won. They were playing actually Brandon Nolan's kid. So Ted Nolan and all them were in the stands watching, and talked to Reggie Leach and stuff for the Philly. He was set up a booth. I didn't get to see Tootoo or Chichi or any of them, but it wasn't bad. And a lot of teams, a lot of Aqua teams from far away, and it was a good time, some good games.
Did anyone out there recognize you?
Yeah, yep. Met a couple of fans, gentlemen from Kitchener, some from Tynanega, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's gotta be pretty cool. And Markham's how far is Markham? Like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yeah, it was about an hour 40, 45.
Yeah, that far away, and then to have people coming out from far away, knowing about the show, that's pretty cool. What else was going on out there? I heard there was a few fights. Was it any Six Nations teams, or was it the other teams there?
It looked like there was a couple fights. I think it was some U18. I know one of our former guests looked like he had a whole incident with the goalie getting ran. And
did you see that, Jay?
I saw video footage. So yeah, former guest Ryder Johnson. He was playing in net for our U18 Six Nations team, and the video that I saw, whoever was filming it was kind of far away from the action. But to me, it looked like, and I wasn't there. I can only go by what I saw. Player came down, had no inkling to take the shot. He just flat out ran the goalie, threw an elbow, elbowed Ryder in the head. Ryder was down. Dust up happened. There was some fighting going on. I'm not sure who the trainer was for the team Ryder was on, but in the video you can see them leaving the bench to go tend to Ryder, and the coach from the other team is I don't know what he was saying. You could see his arms flapping. You could tell he was chirping. He even come off the bench to step out on the ice to go after the trainer, but the trainer turned around and said something and kept walking to tend to Ryder, which to me is pretty admirable, because in the heat of the moment, I've been on a bench and have got in another coach's face, and they've gotten mine. So I know that took a lot of restraint for whoever that was. I couldn't tell in the video, but for them to just keep walking, kudos to them. They had a player down, and that was their main focus.
Yeah, and then I understand. When someone hits the goalie, it's kind of just grab a guy, right? That's kind of the thing. Someone hits the goalie, or even messes with your goalie, you grab someone and you do something about it, right?
Yeah.
So I get that's the protocol, but what is this? This was U18?
I believe it was, yeah.
Okay, so they're men, they're men, they're young men. How should have this situation been handled, do you feel? Do you think it was handled good on both parts, both teams?
I'm not going to condone fighting. I mean, it happens. I know it happens. I was a goalie in hockey, and I made sure that anybody pestered me, they got taken care of. I mean, shout out to my good buddy Russell Hill, who I played hockey with. He was a vicious defenseman. He wouldn't let anybody come near me. And how it was handled, it was to be expected. You know, if somebody runs your goalie, even if there's a scrum in the front of the net and somebody hits your goalie, you're still going. Like that's unwritten rule as far as I'm concerned. But again, I don't want to condone fighting, but it happens. There's like, from what I read on social media, and I don't know, Chris, you were there. You would know better than me, but they've taken contact out of that age group, even though they're that old. So maybe if they'd left contact in, stuff like that wouldn't happen. There wouldn't be liberties taken with players like a goalie. I don't know.
Yeah, they said it was like, because obviously no contact in the younger ages like the rest of the hockey, minor hockey, but those older age groups, they took it out too, I guess, because it being a friendship tournament as advertised. One other thing I was going to say was the U11s. A lot of those kids that were on those U9, U11 championship lacrosse teams happened to have some good success at this tournament. They were on a Six Nations Sting team. U11, they had gone to the championship. I saw they had lost a close one, but, you know, a lot of those same players from that U11 age group. And then the Six Nations Sabres was on, believe in the competitive, and they were in the championship as well at 11. I'm not too sure how they did. I know they said they were going to have to play a tough team, but pretty good to seeing those kids have some winning some championships and doing good on the floor in the summertime, transitioning that in their athletics to hockey as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure was Wayne not the coach of that too as well.
Wayne,
I believe, yeah, he was involved. Yeah. His kid was on the team. Brendan Bomberry's kid, Moose's kid.
I've spoke with Wayne because I was trying to get out there. Things happening here around home here. I couldn't get out there, but I did want to go watch him because I had a free night the other night before Little NHL, and I went and actually watched Wayne's son play. He plays for a Norfolk team. And it was a playoff game. They were playing in Paris, and that little fella, he's on fire. Like they won, I believe it was 6-1, and he had 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And what makes me laugh is he's one of the smaller guys on the team, but I call him little Ovi because he's good. And I don't think Wayne was on the bench at Little NHL because he had texted me and told me he's actually having a good fun time being a spectator.
I think it might have just been Moose and the Moose 140 and Brendan Bomberry, I think, were running the show for the U11 Sabres, and then Josh Powell's for the Sting team. And like I said, even some other teams like the Six Nation Minor House League teams. And like I said, definitely too, a lot of Six Nation teams either being minor or those put together teams, like, you know, put a good show on. Well,
a lot of our players too end up playing for different communities.
Yeah, and you have them, a lot of the younger players.
My Owen, he was a former guest. When he played hockey, the team from Six Nations, they basically had their team picked. We threw Owen's name in the player pool on the Little NHL website, and he was picked up by Moose Cree. And I mean, shout out to them. They're great hockey players, but the way they treated my son as coming in, they didn't know anybody. Nobody knew him. And, you know, they had a warm-up suit ready for him. They had a jacket. They had everything, like everything. They made him feel like an NHL player.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to one of the topics that it made the Six Nations Community Bulletin Board. That seems to be the place to go, right? Someone was talking about how, you know, we have Six Nations players and we only have so many teams that go out there. Or I don't even know how it works with Little NHL, how many teams actually go from Six Nations. But we don't have enough, and we don't have enough funding. And we have to basically put our name into pools and go play for other communities. And those communities actually have the funding to do stuff that we can't even afford to do. So it kind of led down to this conversation of people chiming in, and there was comments, and someone even brought up the topic of we need to get back to fundraising. We need to get back to instead of going out there asking for sponsors and asking the same people over and over again, get out there and actually fundraise. Maybe sell T-shirts, bake sales, those community things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that leads me to a question of what does Six Nations need to do so that we can have more support with these teams? Should we rely on our council the same way that these other First Nations do, and they have all this support, or should we be actually going out there and getting it ourselves?
Tricky question. I'll go back to when I played. We did a lot of team fundraising. and it was like walkathons, and we used to set up a toll where we were literally standing on the road, stopping cars, collecting change. Walkathon, we'd walk. I think we walked, I don't know, probably miles. We walked miles. I don't want to get. I can get into logistics, but people that are watching don't know our community, so they don't know how far we're going. But those are the kind of things we did as a yearly as a team. I get it that it's not like that now. You can't stand on a road and stop cars. You can't walk down the road anymore without there's more danger on the road now than there was back then. As far as funding goes, these other communities, for a lot of them, hockey is all they have, and federal funding or whatever funding their nation is able to give them is probably, it's a big chunk of their recreational budget, I'm going to assume. Here, we just have so many people. I think personally, I think our community budget would have to rise significantly for council to step up and say, okay, we're going to give you this much per team, because there is a lot of teams that go from here, and you're right, there is a lot of players that get left out and have to play for other teams. But if you go on social media, you see parents having to fundraise individually for their player or for their child, which I get it, they're scrambling, everybody's scrambling, but should it boil down to that? And personally, when you go on social media and see 25 people all having the same individual fundraiser, I don't want to buy tickets or whatever to support one without being able to buy tickets to support the other 24. So oftentimes I just don't, and I feel bad about it, but at the same time I'm like, well, this little one might be a family member, this one's a good friend's son. You pick and choose, and then you get, they don't say it. I've never had anybody say it to me, but I know it's out there. Oh, you couldn't even help support my child. I get it. But at the same time, we have so many wealthy people in our community, and I'm sure they get sick of being asked as well. But at the same time, I've had many that have supported my sons in their sports endeavors that have said, here, take this, but keep it anonymous. I don't even want anybody to know I gave this to you, because they don't want 30 people blowing up their phone asking for money. I get it. It becomes a privacy thing. Does it boil down to, maybe all these wealthy folks in our community should start a slush fund? Should they? We have like the fourth largest tobacco import-export business in the world right here in our community, and I know they do a lot for our community, but people still are struggling. They are.
Yeah, there's so many solutions that could solve all these things. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that to just bring awareness. So if you guys have solutions, if you're out there listening right now and you're like, hey, I wanna have some input on this, leave a comment below of what you think should be done. And even let's take this into minor lacrosse. We're having minor lacrosse. Everyone's signing up right now. ILA. Yeah. What's been the outcome? I know that shout out to Brandon Stiers. He had something. Was it last year? He had that big fundraiser.
Funds raised from his birthday party. Brandon had went and said that he would help pay for coaches clinics for anybody that wanted to be a certified coach.
Yeah, so there's people going out there and having initiatives and having coaching clinics and paying for people's not tuitions, I guess, but the registration and stuff like that. Do you see an influx?
You think that should help? Some people, take advantage of it, but I guess still 6 Nation minor is still one of the cheapest minor systems out there, where they're not. Brantford, I guess, is you're paying $100 a tryout for the one, your rep team. Here it's just $50, and there, if you make the rep team, you got to pay an extra $300 and something. Here you don't have to, and then you're paying plus your $600 and something, where here it's about $500 for the whole thing. So it is tough, and sports goes up, but it seems like minor lacrosse is actually still kind of keeping in the books and kind of keeping in the numbers. They're not really making any money. They're just kind of staying in the green.
Well, that's the thing, is we don't know if they're making any money. Mm-hmm. We don't know that, but yeah, I don't know. I just ask these questions because I'm wondering if there is, like, as people are saying, hashtag grow the game. Is it growing?
It's tough in kids' sports. Or you hear stories of people, right? How they always made do without even doing stuff from a few years ago. So, like you said, it's just the world and inflation and everything like that, right? Everybody's kind of struggling around North America these days. And
I think too, lacrosse got it hit a growth spurt 10 years ago or so, maybe even before that, when guys like Cody Jamieson and Sid Smith were at Onondaga, and then they went to Syracuse, and they pulled off an unbelievable victory to win the national championship. And in our community here, so many kids wanted to follow and emulate Cody and Sid. Like they all wanted to go to Onondaga, they all wanted to go to Syracuse, they wanted to do things that those guys did because they saw a success story. What a lot of people out there don't see is the day-to-day struggles. I've seen parents go in to ILA Sports and say, "Can you put this away till payday?" And if you can, great. But if not, it's kind of fair game. A lot of stores don't have layaway plans anymore, and you see it. And I had the one dad jokingly said, and I don't even know if he was really joking, but he said, "It's either buy a helmet today or we eat for the next 2 days." And he laughed about it, but I think there was probably a little bit of truth to that.
Helmet ain't cheap, right? Yeah.
But 10, 15 years ago, lacrosse had a big growth spurt. We were going to tournaments in Chicago. We were going to tournaments in North Carolina, in Florida, Ohio, and I stepped back and I kind of chuckled because everybody makes jokes about soccer moms and their fancy cups and they're all dressed the same, and that's where lacrosse was getting. It was turning into a white collar sport. I heard it at the Dick's tournament. Somebody said something along the lines of a line that was in the movie Crooked Arrow. Like there was several Indigenous teams there. There was quite a few from here. There was some from Akwesasne, from Ganawage. We had players from the Cattaraugus Reservation with us, and I heard a parent say something similar to a line from Crooked Arrow. And to paraphrase, what she said was, "Why do Indians think that they can play lacrosse better than us?" And I stepped back and I,
Who puts it? Was it on a T-shirt?
it should be now.
Who does that?
But I was dumbfounded. It turned into a white collar sport. If you had the most money, that's where your kid played on the best teams. One of my sons we didn't have the money for him to play on an elite program here in Ontario, and the coach stepped up and said, "I will cover his registration and his equipment fees," because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to play. We were very grateful for that, and I still stay in contact with that coach off and on to this day. And he was a great guy. He had a lot of money. He was a dual sport athlete at I believe it was Harvard back in the day, and he's got a very, very good income. He owns a couple of online businesses, so he has it, and he was sharing the wealth, much like Brandon Stiers. If you go talk to Brandon, he's a very calm guy. He's common man basically. He works hard for the money he has, but anything he has extra, he will literally give to you. And do we need more guys like that? I think the world needs more guys like that.
Well, even like Jay said too, some people don't want to get taken advantage of, right? Especially like around here, right? A lot of some of these guys, if they have money or cigarette money, they get kind of taken advantage of, where everybody they give money to this team, and then they straight up said, "Oh, then this team wants to pay for a bus, and that team wants me to pay for a bus, and this team wants 10 grand just for a banner." Like, you know what I mean? Or so it's getting like, how much money, or what are they getting back? What are they getting back from the deal? Are they actually seeing
are they getting
influx
any
of business?
Or anything? Yeah. And then not to mention, like, I don't know, some of the stuff that I was seeing is just copy and pasting letters, and then just changing like who it's going to, right?
Like somebody said how they were sponsoring this. The one guy backed out of jerseys, and then he ended up said, "Screw it, I'll just pay for both." And he was telling me how nobody even thanked him. They just, "Oh, yeah, cool, it's paid for."
Yeah. Copy and paste letters, man. I wish I was that technologically sound.
No, that's literally like, sometimes I'll be reading some stuff and I'm like, "Oh, it's a copy and paste letter because I've seen this You know,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
But anyways, that was I did have a question with that. So we were talking about they ran the net with Ryder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the second time that it's kind of happened, right? It has happened at Dreamcatcher tournament.
Yeah.
So now the protocol is to grab a man and do something about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I seen Nick Rose get ran just recently by Buffalo Bandits by Dhane Smith. No one did nothing. He knocked him over.
Has that been since he's trade?
No, that was just this last game.
The Calgary one.
Yeah,
No one did nothing. I didn't see one player grab anyone. And again, it's Dhane Smith. No one's going to try to fight him, but grab somebody.
I think did Dhane get a penalty there for doing it? And I don't know if maybe if it was they didn't want to, because they figure Rose came out to the side, and then Dhane came into him. I think Dhane got the penalty, so I don't know if Calgary just wanted to take the man up there, and cause that's when Nick's glove was off and everything, right? It was.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Did I see the same thing as everybody else, or am I the only one who's seen that?
Nobody.
Is that coincidence that Mr. Rose was involved? That you had to? Is that why you brought that up?
Well, no. I'm just stating.
If it was Dylan Ward, does he? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying though. Like, if the protocol is to grab a man, I seen it happen, and no one grabbed a man. Would you feel some way if you were him?
It's
probably a tough situation. It was kind of in the game, and like I said, maybe they were thinking probably like
it wasn't really the end of the game though.
No. So I'm saying it's not the end of the game. So like they kind of don't want to, they don't want to give up the opportunity of it being like a closer game and taking the penalty. Right, you'd rather just go up the man on Buffalo. It wasn't really intentional. Like Rose if Rose doesn't kind of come out to make the save this way.
No, I don't think it was intentional.
And I think that's where it is too. Sometimes of like you kind of see like, oh, if it's not really intentional, and like I think he kind of popped up Dhane like, oh shit, like my bad, and so they kind of let it slide.
Huge difference if it's not intentional. I mean,
yeah, he's coming across Dhane, and Rose was coming this way. So hey, everybody says Rose doesn't really move. That time he actually made a nice move save. So
well, I mean, if Dhane was going to the net and. If you're going to run a goalie or if you're going to crease dive into the goalie, you're projecting yourself directly at them. If Dhane wasn't doing that and there was contact, then it was probably accidental. Do you grab a hold of Dhane? He's like
I get he's the superstar.
He's
I get
the top player in the league right now.
I know.
So
I get
do you grab him?
I've never actually seen him. I don't know if he's ever fought in an NLL game.
I wouldn't expect anyone to fight him, but I understand the protocol is to grab somebody. No one grabbed anyone.
Yeah, so some shit happens, right? You can't always. It's like you said, the playbook, or even hockey, right? Or the Geis fight, right? He kind of cheap shotted the one Buffalo player, and the other guy grabbed him. But I mean, hey, nobody grabbed him. You can't really do nothing about it, right?
Do you defend your goalie and grab Dhane Smith, and then somebody grabs a hold of you because you just grabbed the best player on the team?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Is it tit for tat? Is it okay?
And like I said, I think that play, I remember, like I think Dhane might have went to the box there, so they probably just figured, fuck it, let him go to the box, and
because like
we'll take the man up.
It happened so fast that I imagine everyone just probably looks to see who did it, and they're like, oh, it's Dhane. This is a little bit above my pay grade. I don't know if I want. I don't know if I want to put hands on him.
The real thing about the Buffalo game is, did Calgary figure out the game plan of how to beat Buffalo? Buffalo likes to put Paul Dawson. You got Paul Dawson, the defender, making saves like Vino. They stick their other defender. They kind of almost, you think, screen the goalie. And what did Calgary do perfectly? Dixon and Tyler Pace, they shot around those screens. And, I think Vino didn't see the ball, right? Shoot around big 6'4", 240-pound Paul Dawson, and hey, they beat him, right?
Oh, like he's bigger than 6'4".
Instead of beating him, like hitting him with the shots, like he's leading the league in block shots, Paul Dawson. Those guys kind of game plan for Buffalo and shot around him. I wonder if some other teams do that this weekend.
Well, and who's to say Buffalo won't adapt either?
Yeah.
Like it's a chess match, right? Mm-hmm. When you hit junior lacrosse, it's a chess match. It's not just a free for all, willy-nilly go out there and do your best. It's a chess match, and being on this side of it now, being in a GM role, people have said to me many times, why did you pick that guy? Why did you pick that guy? They're puzzle pieces. You want to see why I picked them? Wait till the puzzle's together, and you'll see.
And I think one thing for, like, let's say like a Nick Rose.
That was a bar.
give him some credit. I think Nick Rose said his Demons versus Buffalo was not Calgary's Demons versus
I heard that
Buffalo,
line.
and they got the win, and he played good, and they had a good game, and
that's gonna be one of my questions for him. Like, what does he mean by that? I just wonder. Calgary's Demons aren't the same Demons as Toronto's, I guess.
I know Calgary did beat Buffalo in the 2019 NLL Championship, so I don't know if, and kind of having some similar players still on the team, maybe he's thinking that, and how he couldn't beat Buffalo in the big games in the recent years.
So did that put a damper on my thoughts and stuff towards him? Tune in next week.
We're
still a lot of season left.
Yeah, we're not done the episode yet. But that was quite the deep dive on a little NHL. But let's before we move on from hockey, anybody see that Brandon Montour gets the fastest overtime goal in history
ever
in only 4 seconds?
Ever. I watched that replay many times.
That's a fast Mohawk, man.
I had many questions, and don't get me wrong, Montreal's my team. They've been my team. Did Seattle pay attention to how Montreal was taking the draws to see where it was going? Did they put Brandon on the wing because he was quicker than any winger they had? Because that was almost a sneak play. They knew where the puck was going off the draw, and Brandon was the first one to the puck. So kudos to Seattle, kudos to Brandon. Montreal, you're getting too repetitive.
I don't even watch hockey, so I wouldn't even be able to know.
No, kudos to Brandon, though. You're right. That was the quickest goal in overtime ever. And who better to score it than a local boy?
Yeah. I just think of what he would have been if he would have stayed as a lacrosse player.
Well, he was a lacrosse player.
Well, no, if he stayed, right? If he stayed playing lacrosse.
Did you see the one meme?
He'd be a lot poorer, that's for sure.
Oh, hey.
Did you see the meme by Smudge the Blades?
No,
I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was written as if Brandon was saying it, and it was like, I just told him to put the puck where I point my lips, and he did, so I got it. He was like,
all right, okay, so we're gonna get into some of these questions here that we have about coming from the community here. So someone asked, why can't First Nations teams compete in Canada's summer games? And they use the hashtag #OurGame. Hashtag #OurGame. And this is all coming from people on Instagram. I have 6 of them.
When they say summer games, to me, is that the Ontario Summer Games or the Canada Summer Games? I know that in midget lacrosse, or what is it now? U18?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the final 6 provincials are played, is at the Summer Games. Why can't a national team go there? Because it's a provincial thing. And if they mean the Canada Summer Games, I have no idea. I couldn't answer on that.
What was it that took place in Niagara those couple of years ago?
It was Canada, wasn't it?
That was Canada, yeah. So that was, I guess, just Ontario. And then let's say Saskatchewan. That was just held this past year in Saskatchewan. Now this year it's going to be hosted in Halifax. I know Team First Nations does put a team.
Yeah, those are nationals.
Nationals, yeah. So you got nationals, but not the Canada games. But then the other games.
And the thing about it too is, years ago the minor nationals for lacrosse were held in Whitby. They would move around occasionally, but they were predominantly held in Whitby.
Yeah.
And then they were split up, so one division would go west, and the 2 would stay in east. And then I think when they start having women's nationals, girls nationals, they would move around too. It makes a lot of sense for me to spread the wealth. People have complained for years about OLA provincials all being in Whitby, and there's millions of dollars that go into the city of Whitby and the surrounding areas just based on that tournament.
And honestly, that was a whole thing too for years of the Nationals being in Whitby, a lot of games, more money, more players. Then when they took that out after 2018, they haven't played in Whitby for that. 2019, that's when they did 1 year of qualifiers in Kitchener, then a weekend of qualifiers and Final 6 in Whitby. And then they did then coming out of COVID, they did that random junior like sign up if you're this age, and kind of they threw you on teams. It didn't look like it looked poorly ran.
See, when
it was like a random.
back in the day when I played, provincials were much like hockey, where as you advanced to a playoff round, you were going to different centers. I remember way back in the day in novice, so I was, things were all just coming out of black and white back then. I played for Brantford, and we played against Elora for the zone championship, and then we had ended up facing each other for the provincial championship too. So it wasn't all spread over 3 or 4 days in Whitby. It was they played over here, we played over here, and we gradually met in the provincial championship. To me, personally, I think to spread the wealth, I think it should go back to that, and not just have, because the provincials are stretched over 10 days, and you got each division from Tyke or U9 or whatever it is, or U8, I don't know, right up to intermediate, which is U22. So each of those divisions has a set 3 days stretched over that 10. Some are playing, like you'll have U11s and U18s playing, and there's so many arenas. It's not just one multi-sport pad like Iroquois Park in Whitby. There's so many teams now that they're playing in Oshawa, they're playing in Pickering, they're playing in Ajax, they're playing everywhere, and literally millions and millions and millions of dollars go to that area for those 10 days. And then when they had nationals there, the nationals were the same time. It
was kind of just like the little NHL. It was in Markham, but then the Ingalls Glen Arena in Markham, then there was a Stouffville, there was some Clippers, there was Thornhill, then the girls U18 was playing in Scarborough. So like you said, just tons of different arenas, and then a lot of money and tourism brought to that.
Yeah, and I seen that, again, a lot of people were complaining about the pricing of everything. Like they were price gouging, or I think that's the proper word, right?
Yeah.
Like raising the price of everything. So basically hotels were more expensive. You want to go out and eat and different things like that. Everything, you really couldn't do much because it cost so much.
Yeah.
One guy shared a post. His hotel room for like 3 nights was over $3,000. And that was just your standard run-of-the-mill hotel. It wasn't, you weren't staying at a 5-star resort.
Just like Whitby, how they say how that whole area does the same thing, right? If OLA doesn't host there, how much money do they lose probably in their cities and kind of that Durham area's income?
So there was people even saying that they booked their hotel for the LNHL. They booked it last year. And then they found out that their reservation was canceled, and they had to rebook, and then they had to pay this extraordinary price, which was 3 times more than what they had originally booked and paid. And it reminded me of the eclipse, when the eclipse went through, and people had booked in Niagara Falls a year before that to get there to find out their reservations were canceled, and they had to pay like $1,500 a night all of a sudden when it was like $150. So like, why are they allowed to do that? And it goes back to families that some families may have multiple children playing in this tournament, and now you have to take the whole family out there and probably maybe get 2 rooms or 1 big one, and that added expense for them gouging. Come on, it's for a minor sport. We're not all of our children are playing in the GTHL where it costs you $10,000 each to play. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was seeing it all over social media, just like, and I understand that everyone complains, but it seemed like everyone was talking about the same thing, and everyone was going to the same places, and it's like, it's clearly happening to everyone. Like, every year it's the same thing. Because I think we even talked about this last year on the podcast too, as well, about how a little NHL is kind of like, and provincials are some like the things that they'll just price gouge because they know people are going to be there.
Little NHL used to be in different communities. Each a different community hosted. That's where it was. Like I remember playing here. We hosted. I played in London. We hosted. I played in Sault Ste. Marie. They hosted. I played in Espanola. Like these different communities hosted the tournament, and that's where everybody went. And it was a pretty good shot in the arm for their economy for that 4 days, 5 days. Now the number of teams, it can't be that route, but still, you don't got a price gouge just because there's 300 teams coming to your community.
Because then this year was the Rama Chippewas or whatever they hosted, and then next 2 years it's Wiki hosting. So I don't know why they went with the same community for the next 2 years, and why it wasn't one and then somebody else, or I don't know how they really.
For us, it was in Mississauga for a long time.
Yeah,
and that's just up the highway, and it didn't take no hour and 10 hour and 20 hour and a half to get there. And those arenas were across the road from each other, so it made sense. But to me, I'm old school. I think it should go back to whatever community is hosting. They should host in their community. But again, because the number of teams, you physically can't.
How come it left Mississauga? They never really said that. Or was it just because, Markham had more arenas than Mississauga? You figure Mississauga is a big spot.
I can imagine there's probably a bid for it. Like there's probably an organization that owns the rights for it, and then they go out there and they say, hey, we have this large amount of people who we do this every year. Do you want to place a bid and we can have it in your town?
Well, they have tons of boards and tons of, like the one lady, she was supposedly on the board, and then she was on the board she was Indigenous, and she was on the board then for Hockey Canada too. So like, I don't know what their board, what their decisions and things they make. I don't know.
If they do that, and I don't know if they do, but in my personal opinion, I think that one of the number one rules should be do not jack your accommodation or your food prices up. Because there are families that use that as their only getaway out of a very remote community. Like some of these teams and communities fundraise all year to get to the little NHL. And if you're budgeting for your hotel room to be $700 for 3 nights, and you get here and it's $3,000, something's wrong.
Like you said too about the fundraising, like those communities councils paying for stuff, and I don't know if Jordan's Principal, did they still pay stuff for other people's stuff, or not, or not at all anymore? Right?
From what I understand, Jordan's Principal didn't pay for anyone this year.
Yeah, no,
but in the past they have,
right?
and it was abused.
Yeah, because it was last year they paid all this money to everybody, and then this year, I know then that's when Six Nations was trying to get it, and then all of a sudden they're like, no more money.
There's a whole big investigation going on with Jordan's Principal. That's a topic I don't want to touch.
Yeah, that's it's above our pay grades over here. But you know what is about? You know, it isn't talking about them Bears, because they are not them. Someone had asked for a little bit of insight on what's going on with the Bears. They said, "Why don't you want them in the playoffs?"
The Bears.
So I don't know who that was. The
Schwiegen Bears.
Well,
yes,
I mean,
luckily, all the Arena League teams make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So they're in.
Yeah, all the teams make the playoffs. So, you know, I had the good fortune that on Sunday a few of the Bears players rolled up to me.
Oh, here we go.
And a lot of them said to me, a few threw it at me. You going to change your opinion of us now? Did we prove you wrong? And you know what? They pulled off a pretty good W. I mean, did they want me to run them into the ground? You were up 7-1, and all of a sudden you were down 9-8. Come on. No, but they ended up winning. It was a good game. It was hard fought, and yeah, a few of the players come up. They were laughing and joking, and I said, "Yeah, you proved me wrong this game."
Did they have 20 men on the bench?
They did, and they even said we've had the same guys out for the last few weeks now. So, and I said, okay,
yeah,
so
that's what you said they needed.
There we go. There we go.
If this show and me saying what I said lit a fire under their ass, then my job's done.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. It
got them, and hopefully they can keep it up. You know, one of the fellas that come up to me, he's their starting goaltender. Laughing, joking, you know, good guy, good kid. Played for the Elora Mohawks last year.
Oh, sweet.
I was gonna say, I noticed he's been playing a lot. So, like you said, just kind of keeping the same goalies, keeping the same players.
But yeah, they did good. I mean,
what did he have to say about? Did he have to say anything about the podcast because of your comments about Elora Mohawks?
Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I had somebody reach out to me that is neither from this community nor from Elora. Rumor, and as far as I'm concerned, it is only rumor right now. Elora may be dropping the Mohawks name.
Ooh.
Whether that happens, again, like I said, it might be just rumor, but it is what it is. But yes, those Bears players, you know, they were laughing, joking, shaking my hand. They were Yeah, you'd have thought I was running for mayor the way they were all standing there.
Oh,
but,
now they're really gonna hate you. Now they're really gonna hate you.
Hey, that's fine. If hating me makes them play better at the end of the year, then I'll be there to shake all their hands and say, you know what, you guys really improved.
Yeah, I was telling Jay, because you're the encyclopedia of lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Don Cherry of lacrosse over here. This is what's been missing.
As long as you doesn't say you people, we're good.
Oh, right. Or no, I was gonna make a comment with that one, but I'll just leave that one alone. But
does that mean I got to start wearing flashy and bright and gaudy sport coats?
yeah, and you just gotta keep making eye contact with the camera every time.
You people.
Just.
Okay, you can't fire me for that.
Hey.
It was a joke.
Well, like I said, yeah, Monday with the NLL, huh? Big trade deadline happening, and
yeah. So tell us a little bit about all the trades that happened, and start with Del Bianco.
so like we said, yeah, trade deadline looked at one point at 3:00 where like nothing happened, and the next, a half an hour later, a whole lot of shit went down. So it was.
Wait, did you just swear?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Keep it
he's
G-rated,
excited. He's
G-rated.
excited.
Yeah.
Chris means business,
Like
and
you
he's
said,
swearing.
Christian Del Bianco, he was holding out, playing our arena league for the Grizzlies out in the ALL West, and maybe another ALL success story. Right?
Oh, the West has the best success story.
Yeah.
Right
So
on.
He was out there playing. Since the summertime, he's been wanting to play for Vancouver. They never traded him. There was more talks on those NLL broadcasts about these 4 more Rock players may get traded, but nothing about Del Bianco. And sure enough, he went to Vancouver. So, Aiden Walsh was their goalie. He was playing pretty good, Oakville guy, and they still had a young backup, Connor O'Toole, whose dad, Pat O'Toole's a legend, and they're from Brampton, and Del Bianco, I think he's gonna kind of get in net, and it's really gonna boost them up. And then for Calgary, they gave up some picks for Nick Rose there, so they get some picks back. I think it was a first-round pick in 2025, plus some other ones. I think there was some future considerations. That's what.
Yeah.
So I have to see what that ends up being, and
We actually did someone from Instagram. One of their questions for you specifically was about Chris Del Bianco. They wanted to know if they thought it was actually a good trade, and if the wait was even worth it, and they wanted to know your opinion specifically.
Like if I think good,
I think this person knows you.
solid trade for Vancouver, and then like I said for Calgary, he never wanted to go play there again, so they kind of had to get something back. And I think getting Nick Rose, they had at least they got a goalie for the rest of the season. Who knows if he goes back to the Rock in free agency, and they gave some picks up for him. And I guess the young defender they picked up maybe could be a help now guy. I guess he was the junior captain for Poco Saints, so he helped lead them to Minto Cup this year. So, they got a young defender back, some picks. So I think it could be a win-win for both. And then Del Bianco will be back playing. I guess he is now retired from the ALL West. I guess they had to give you a see you later post, but a welcome back, because I guess he's back on the bench for them this weekend. He's going to be making his ALL coaching debut at the same time he's coaching for the or he's going to be playing for Vancouver Warriors. So I think that was a fair trade all around. And then Vancouver, the big trade was the 4-team trade: Ottawa, Albany, Vancouver, Buffalo. So Ottawa flips Kyle Matisse all the way to Vancouver. Then Vancouver flips Kyle Matisse to Buffalo and got some picks back. So again, they were trying to stack some picks back that they lost in the Del Bianco trade. And Kyle Matisse, a Stony Creek Hamilton guy, he's going to be a solid veteran presence for Buffalo coming out the back end, probably playing that. I don't see him playing a righty forward. I see him more playing transition role for them. Then Ottawa also sent Ron John to defender to Buffalo. So I think they had some injuries there. Matt Spanger out, Dylan Robinson hasn't come back yet. They also have some older defenders in Priolo and stuff, so they want to maybe get a little younger. Ron John is from that Cattaraugus area, played at Albany, so kind of getting more of a hometown guy back. And Albany sends Travis Longboat to Ottawa, and Buffalo sent Sam LaRue to Ottawa. I'm not sure if Sam's going to play more forward, or maybe he'll play a transition role. He's a young guy, plays from BC, plays wide receiver at Western. Originally, it was a quarterback, but they switched him to wideout. But Ottawa, if they don't make the playoffs this year, do they fire their GM Rick Lisk? Come on. The guy had a 5-year plan. They did jack in New York. The fucking guy ran out of town pretty much, right? Because he couldn't put a playoff team in the city. And then this guy's been making all these moves. He traded away, I think they're picking 2026. He's always trading away first-round picks. They've made moves where he last year traded away his first-round pick, which would have been what? Would have been the first overall pick, right? Because then they lost out on Brendan O'Neill last year. Riptide and Lanchberry, they traded away his second overall pick, so he's definitely given away tons of picks. One player they got back was local Travis Longboat.
Yeah.
And, hey, Travis is a good player, and it's a good move for Ottawa, but they could have had him the whole time because Riskless cut him with the Riptide. He had the original Riptide guys drafted Travis out of junior for Six Nations Arrows. Solid rookie year in 2020. After COVID, Riskless took over full time as GM and cut him before training camp was even over. And then now he gets him back all these years later, but you didn't even have to. That was a bad move in the first place, cutting him years ago. So
maybe he just thought he wasn't ready at that time. He's younger.
Yeah, he was a little younger. So then he did go to. His former Arrows coach, Pat Merrill, picked him up. He got cut, and then he went to Georgia, and then now obviously he's really on his own. But
let's talk about that trade. Again, like we don't know, but would that be a good trade for Travis Longboat? Like in his mind, do you think it would be a good trade?
I'm not too sure if he he's playing in Ottawa, but Albany was also close. I know there was a few Six Nations guys on that team. He goes to Ottawa, he'll be playing with. Does he get the ball more? He was getting the ball, I think, a bit in Albany, where in Ottawa, Jeff Teat holds the ball a lot. That Dunbar guy was holding the ball a lot. So it's pretty much the Jeff Teat show, right? In Ottawa, they always try to make it. Obviously, that Dunbar was scoring more. And
he has an opportunity to go there and learn, though, to grow, right?
Yeah, they definitely need some help on that right side. So
I'm still stuck at
Marshall Powell still hasn't gotten traded. He's still sitting on the holdout list for Albany. I'm surprised Albany gives up a guy like Travis Longboat. How come they didn't make a move and dish Marshall Powell?
Yeah.
Were they also looking for a win now mode? They got a defender from the Mimico area, plays Owen Sound, I guess Senior A, Johns Hopkins, the John Pesco. So a team, they were saying it with the log jam. And like we said, we've NLL meme shout out.
Oh, okay.
They have remember we were looking at the meme where Albany now wins. All of a sudden they have a shot to
that was
make
great.
the run. So is Glenn Clark, head coach and GM, thinking, oh shit, I got to put the chips in the poker chips on the table and let's get Pesco and make the run for the championship or what?
Shout out to the NLL memes guy. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
Have you seen him?
Yeah, he makes some funny stuff.
I'm still hung up on Chris saying the Riptide got run out of town. I mean, even their turf is going to end up in Whitby.
Yeah. And the President's Cup, that's the most championships played on that thing.
It's legendary.
Yeah. And like I said, just like I said when we were talking last week, how other pro sports, if the team in 4 or 5 years you're being there, you and the head coach, you're ran out of town too and fired and axed. And I don't know if it's the buddy system or we don't want to find another guy to do this guy's job, but I mean, he didn't win. They hang that Rich List guy's head, and he could be a nice guy, but he won an ECHL championship, and I guess he was a GM of the Arena League Philadelphia Soul Football, but he didn't win anything in New England, and he didn't win anything in Philly when he helped. Like, he didn't win anything yet with New York/Ottawa. So why are we keeping this guy around if he's kind of had this plan for 5 years? And plus, it's the NLL and pro sports. You can't have a 5-year plan because you're supposed to get fired in 5 years. I'm a Giants fan. They fire their coach and GM every other year. The GM right now and coach are fighting for their job, trying to see if they can sign Aaron Rodgers.
Imagine that being brought into a team and be like, yeah, we don't want you to win this
5 years. We have a plan. You can't. College coaches can't even do that. They have 4 years of players, and by the time those college coaches get to where their freshman class they recruited or seniors, they're fucking out. So it's hey, that just reminds me. You're effing out. Our buddy Danny McBride, Eastbound and Down. Right? That was his saying. Big Lacrosse fan now. Did you see that?
I did. I seen it.
I had to share it. I'm a big Danny McBride fan. And
what's your favorite movie from Danny McBride?
obviously, like, he's in Pineapple Express and
He's rich.
But Eastbound Down would be my favorite. Plus, he's in Righteous Gemstones, and he was vice principal. He's made a lot of. He's pretty much been Kenny Powers and all those shows. But big lacrosse fan. He was on the Theo Vaughn, and plus too, like we said, Joe Rogan podcast getting talked about. Him talking about Theo Vaughn's a big podcast. It's pretty cool seeing lacrosse and seeing celebrities talk about it and having their kids, right?
It's such random celebrities too. Like like it's not like you're seeing like Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yeah.
Like Mark Wahlberg, I love lacrosse.
I didn't know if his kid was playing in California. Or where I don't know, obviously being an actor, I'm thinking it's California area, but
I just loved it. And he's like, I've seen 10-year-old kids hitting each other. I was like, fucking right.
Yeah, with sticks and shit. And he's like, my kids, he's quit all these sports, and all of a sudden he's hitting the kids with sticks. And I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty violent and cool. And then he even had liked how he said, I guess whatever the gentleman from VMI alumni guy that's helping him coach and kind of guide him and his kid through the system, how he liked that there was a lot of, which is true, a lot of former players are doing that as side gigs, right? Maybe they're pro players coaching his kids or guys out of college, but he liked that there was kind of some younger coaches that have just gotten out of the game coaching, rather than a lot of dads.
Yeah. I seen that when he was talking about, the younger coaches kind of stepping up more. That kind of leads me to another topic that I was kind of thinking about. So the last team who actually kind of went to provincials in the A division would be the team that Wayne just recently, right?
Yeah.
Since then, has there been like the older division, bantam, midget, and all that stuff? Since the Rebels went on that run.
The Rebels, yeah.
So basically, like what I'm trying to get at is the last time that there's been a run in that age category of like the older age was like Wayne was a part of that. So now he's come back to coach, and then also some of the other coaches on that team are a part of that. What is it now? U11.
The U17 team in 2022 went to Final Six,
but like in A division.
That was A division.
Okay.
Yeah. So Final Six. So kind of like. So kind of would be the difference is when the U11 and winning in U9, it's kind of them just going to provincials, where in U13, 15, and 17, those top teams where I think now too it's only top 10, I believe, right? Where it used to be, I guess, top 13 in the past.
When we used to get the qualifiers, there would be, at one point it was 12.
12, I think now they said it's cut to 10 since COVID.
But at one point it jumped to 16. Mm-hmm. So what would happen is you go to basically a tournament, and they take these top 16 teams, and in 2 weekends you play everybody once, and then they take the top 6 out of that. And those are the final 6 that are going to be playing for provincials in the A division in U13, 15, and 17. And
usually they've just been taking some years like that U17 team is what goes to the Canada games.
Summer games,
yep. And so sometimes I guess it was in London, so then they'll go there on those years. And then the other 2 divisions, U13 and 15, will take their teams to provincials.
Yeah, because like what I feel is like some of these younger players need to come back and start coaching again, and we'll see more success. Because I feel like even when I look at like that age group that like again, like my age group, Wayne's age group, that age group, Lane, I think that age group needs to come back and start coaching.
I think when W. Howells coached the U17 team last year, I think they might have went to qualifiers as well, I think. But not U15 and not U13.
Well, Six Nations minor lacrosse used to be they rank centers. There's X amount that are A division centers. Yeah. There's X amount that are B, C, D, and so forth. Some of these communities, their minor lacrosse system is so small, they may only have 2 or 3 teams total, and they're going to be a D or an E center because they don't have the numbers. They may have a lot of good. It's a lot of good players, but because they're obviously going to be weaker because they're smaller. A lot of them will leave their centers and come to a place like Six Nations to learn the game more, to get better, to do this, to do that. Like Simcoe Minor Lacrosse has been around for a while. They're a weaker center because they don't have the numbers. I remember years ago, Fort Erie, who has had a minor lacrosse system for many, many, many years, had a bit of an issue where they weren't getting players registering, so they didn't have a team in every division either. And it gets kind of spoiled sometimes because they may have only one team in the Pee Wee or U13 division, but their one team will have to play our number one team in the same division and might get blown out. Whereas then they would play our 3 or 4 team and then blow them out. And so there's honestly, you can't predict a balance. Like I'm told by some parents that they don't feel Six Nations minor lacrosse is an A division center now. Has our registration and numbers dropped off? I think they have a bit. We used to be the first or second most registrations in Zone 9 and in the OLA. Now they put a list out of top 5 or top 10 centers going by registration numbers, and we're not in it anymore.
I think Burlington the ones that won it last year for most, and that was registered from like Little Kid Field all the way up through.
But we also have taken into consideration like Burlington is a large city.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's and like you said, it's a larger city, and maybe the game's growing there now, right? So it's
Well, and then you look back at like guys like Wayne. He was on the Rebels for quite a few years, and they went on one heck of a run from like 2011 to 2014. I believe they maybe lost one game in 4 years. And how do you do that as a team? You just rolling over everybody for 4 years. And 2014 was the last year they won the Founders Cup. They've been to the Founders Cup since then, but the Rebels have not won it.
And like you said too, it's like no team's gone on a run like that from anywhere, right? Like you've had Calgary win, Aqui win. Who won it? The
Elora last year.
Elora, Nepean, Edmonton Warriors. So there's been, since the 2014, there's been a lot of teams.
Well, you've been out to maybe some of these practices. I don't know, or maybe you haven't. But like, have you heard who's been showing up to these Rebel practices? Do they have some good players out there, or
Yeah,
have
it's the
they?
same good young kids. Probably.
Yeah, like what's the crowd out there?
I haven't been to a Rebels practice or tryout as of yet this year, and I'm kicking myself because I probably should, because those players are some of the players that we may need to call on in the future as far as call-ups. But I know players like former guest Dale Burning. He's coming into his own. He's realizing that he's 6'5" or 6'6", and he's adapting.
He's realizing it.
Some players don't play to their ability or their size. They don't get it. It comes at whatever stage in life. Dale is coming into his own. He's going to be somebody they rely on. The Rebels are in a bit of a growth period because they brought in all new bench staff. So we'll see how it goes. I know there'll be growing pains with any change. There's growing pains. Blue Hill is the new head coach. Blue was a phenomenal player back in his day. I think he can probably still give her. So they have a whole new bench staff. So we'll see what it looks like. Some players may or may not adapt to his systems. We went through that with the Rivermen last year. So we'll see. I haven't been. They have an inter squad game coming up soon. So yeah, I'll be there.
Like you said, the Rebels like a team. They could go maybe a little older. They could go all younger and try to build for down the line, right? So it's all a matter of kind of what their game plan is for. Where do they see for the future?
Well, it's like you said, coaching college university sports too. Mm-hmm. Though you only got 5 years with a junior team.
Yeah,
you may bring a player in, sign him fresh out of minor, right out of midget, or U17, and you basically got 5 years with that player or that group of players that age.
And then, like you said too,
try to
like
mold them.
Junior B, do you have even less because you are that lower level where this kid may even next year jump to A.
Yeah.
Whereas why they say the Minto Cup's the hardest trophy to win because you only got 5 years to win it. Where a President's Cup and a Minto Cup, right? You could play from 22 all the way to however.
Well, we don't know what our junior A team looks like. They may want to pull some of these Rebel
maybe
players
Dale
up.
and Joe Squire is another young good guy.
And there's times too when a player will make the decision. He may play junior A for 3/4 of the season and then go, I just want to go play B. Which, if it's a player a junior A team has relied on, all of a sudden he's pulling himself out. That leaves a huge gap in that junior A team he's leaving. I've seen it happen right here in our community more than once. We got our junior C squad. When I coached junior C years ago, the players called the league the jungle. the Jungle C, because it's wild. That league is wild, and by wild I mean it's gritty lacrosse. It's fast. It's rough. Those kids are still trying to earn their spot and prove to these teams that are divisions higher that I deserve a shot. Junior C, you want to see some smash mouth lacrosse, that's the league to go watch.
And like we said, Junior C, they've kind of been in the news the last 2 days. Brantford Warriors have moved to Burlington, and now the Burlington Warriors, same kind of name and colors and everything, but they're going to be Burlington. And I was hearing rumbles that they were going to play out of Burlington this year, or maybe play one game in Brantford, one game in Hamilton, but stay the Brantford name. So I don't know what kind of made them switch. I know they're affiliated with Burlington Junior A and Hamilton B, and I don't know if it was keeping them kind of closer or if it was because of supposedly floor time in Brantford. Potentially the ice is staying for a while longer with Bulldogs in playoffs for OHL at the Civic Center, and ice was supposed to come out at Gretzky Center end of May, right around the time of the Six Nations Confederacy Tournament. So I don't know if that kind of played a factor in it, but whatever, they had a good run. And when did they join the league? In 2016, Brantford?
Something like that. And
they won the championship and Sutherland Cup and had some good players come through.
And then isn't there also other teams joining the junior C division?
Yep. So we got the Akwesasne joined technically last year, New Year, but they were 0-19. They were the Akwesasne Phantoms, and it looks like they're rebranding to Akwesasne Lightning. So I don't know if it was new management switch over. I'm thinking maybe Minor took them over or something. The way that kind of post was kind of reading of, in line with the Six Nations Minor Storm, and then getting kids ready for Akwesasne Junior be Thunder, these guys being the Lightning. I didn't know if kind of playing into those names had some affiliations with them, or maybe the same people running the show. And then last year when one of those Quebec teams got kind of kicked out of OLA for maybe not paying money or something like that.
South Shore,
yeah. Ganawage wanted back in. They couldn't get in time. So this year they're in, and then they have the great season last year going to the Ontario Finals for the Hunters Junior B, and they'll have Hunters Junior C. Mm-hmm. But then also Barrie moved up to become Junior B this year, and they were in that West Division. So now I see with teams coming in, moving around, team moving up to B, they're going to do divisions. But they said stay tuned to see how that schedule works out, because I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that there's like an East, there's a West.
Yeah, Central, a North or something. Yeah. So it was kind of like, are you going to be playing teams less? Do they play everybody once? Like, I don't know.
I got to say this while it's in my head, or I'll forget. Mm-hmm. And not to go too much off topic, but I've heard rumblings that Senior C is now going to have East and West divisions, mm-hmm. and there's a new team in the Senior C loop in Tyndonega.
Oh, okay. Somebody was telling me they had a new senior team coming to Tyndonega. A gentleman that lives down here from there.
Yeah, it's Senior C. Yeah,
Senior C. Okay, because I didn't know if it was. I wasn't too sure if it was in that Three Nations League or not. So it's going to be Senior C.
No, they're in this OLA Senior C loop, mm-hmm. the SSL. But yeah, I heard rumblings that they're finally going to split that into East and West divisions.
And I'm wondering too now. So I saw also Windsor has started a women's senior in the Women's Major Series League. That's got to be up to what, 9 teams or 10 teams? So are they going to end up?
I don't think that Windsor team's coming in till next year.
Oh, 2026. Okay. Yeah. So maybe they got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So we covered the Rebels. Let's get into the Arrows. I did see that they're going to have Zed Williams.
Yeah, coaching.
Helping out on the bench.
I don't know if him getting kind of hurting his Achilles. He can't play PLL and stuff this summer or anything. So I think that's a good, solid player, and she could be a good role model for these guys. I don't know how much coaching he's done before, but could be a solid guy on the bench to draw some plays up. I'm sure he's been around some good coaching. And
it's Zedzilla. Mm-hmm. You got to listen though. The man is soft spoken.
I don't know if he also too. I think that he's got some relations with Noah Snyder, who ours picked up last year from St. Catharines. I believe he's a Cattaraugus area guy. He's tearing it up pretty good for Marquette at the moment. So I don't know if maybe even to having family on the team. I don't know. I've heard he's a cousin, he's a stepson, he's a this, he's a that. So I don't know really what the rumor is there of the relation, but I don't know if even having him close plays a factor.
Zeddy's a former Riverman, so the community will welcome him with open arms. Man, I hope you edit that out.
Played Rebels too, right? Chiefs and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they've been around. I think his nephew plays down here now. Was on that U11 team.
Yeah.
So how has anyone been out to any of these? Has there been any actual Arrows tryouts or anything
nothing-
like that?
nothing yet.
Because
I
I
think,
haven't
like, end
heard
of the
about
month.
anything like that.
Their season starts a little later, so they'll hit the floor a little later. They
I think my prediction. I think they'll have a good season. I think like a few years ago they had pretty much a lot of high school juniors on the team. This regime's had it for a while. I think a lot of the kids are in colleges now. The big thing we were saying that having the kids in colleges, they get them back in this May time period, where before all these kids a lot of them were playing prep schools in the States, where they're waiting to the end of June when high school's over. So they're going to kind of get these good players back a solid month earlier now that
and
they're
in
college.
game shape.
Yep, in game shape. Yeah, ready to
And
roll.
you know that the Arrows shocked a lot of people last year. Like,
They should have won the first round. So
yeah,
it was
that I mean, for whatever reason that whatever happened. But you know, people were shocked they even made the playoffs, and then to go to the brink with Peterborough, you know, that in itself to me says a lot for that young group, because they had lost a couple of key players. Thunder went to St. Catharines. Brenny Anderson left and went to the Rebels.
Winter Rivera and the other guy went
Yeah.
to War Chiefs.
Yeah.
The guy
Winter went back to the War Chiefs,
Had a lot
yeah.
of guys leave, and then they end up APing guys and having other guys step up.
Yeah, so there was a pleasant surprise that they got as far as they did last year. So they can only build off of that. They're only going to get better.
Ethan, one of their goalies, he's been kind of in the loop playing Peterborough Timberman ALL. He's been practice squad and also backup and gotten in a game or two for Colorado. So probably even getting this guy some NLL experience and kind of seeing some harder shots from some pro players. I'm sure he'll be ready for summertime. Plus, they still got Thompson. I seen he's doing good for Potsdam D3.
Yeah, it should be good for the Arrows. Let's get into senior. we got the Warriors and we got the Rivermen. What are we gonna start with? We're gonna start with first. Let me give you an update on the Warriors since I've been there. So, 2 new players added to the roster. I don't even know if I'm allowed to announce this, but they've been out there. There's pictures of them. We got Marshall and Johnny Paulus out there playing for the Warriors this year. Yeah. Everything seems to be coming together. I see about 32 people out there every single night. Consistently, the first tryouts start, I believe, tomorrow night. This will be coming out on Thursday, so it'll be on Friday.
My big question is, how many players can they transfer over? Nobody can answer that. Does anybody know? Like, they have a lot of guys out, but can they only transfer 5 this year, Jay? Do we know? Like,
I had inquired about that, not with the league. I had just asked somebody close to the organization. I said, are they going to be allowed to have, like in their first year, they were allowed to have as many transfer as needed because they were an expansion team.
Yeah.
Are they still getting that grace period in their second year, or does it go back to the ruling where you're only allowed 5 transfers?
Because that's when you got to be, strategic, right? You can't just first 5 guys. Oh yeah, we're gonna sign these 5 guys. Then you got some stellar players that want to come later in the season. Oh, sorry, we burned them on these guys because you can't cut them, you can't reuse them. So that's when kind of these teams they're kind of you're okay, but we may not want to transfer you now. We'll use a guy. We don't got to use a transfer on because we want to keep that till deadline time and have a good player, an NLL guy or somebody with their.
For the Grand River Warriors management, that is something that, and I'm sure they've looked into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm sure
maybe they just don't want to share it.
Yep.
I don't know. And with the Marshall situation, him on the holdout list is a good thing for the Warriors because.
Well, he won't count as a pro player.
No, he will not count as an NLL player unless they, whatever they work out and he all of a sudden starts playing again. Because I believe he has 3 games in the NLL this year.
And 4
And you need 4 to be considered an NLL player when signing a Senior B card or a Can-Am card. So right now, Marshall not playing is a good thing for the Warriors. And to see Johnny back out, I mean, everybody loves Johnny Paulus. To see him back out, that's a blessing. Don't matter what jersey he puts on, as long as he's playing again, because he's a great guy.
And like we said, for him, he hasn't played summer since 2019. So they were saying last year, if you hadn't played in 5 years, you're a free agent. So does that make him a free agent, or do you have to release him?
I can't tell you.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, now who's the one withholding information now?
Yeah.
Just holding out.
Well,
Because they said the COVID years counted, right?
COVID didn't count for anybody. It was
then Johnny's still ours. Then definitely.
wow. I don't know. I'm just up here saying shit.
Well, and you know, I go to the Warriors runs. They're good guys. I get along with everybody out there. I go to watch, and I've said it right to management. I've said it to many people. I'm here to make sure that there isn't any rivermen out here without permission.
Was there?
Yeah.
Who was?
I can't tell you.
Oh.
No, they had permission.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
after Jay said you didn't get permission, but it's no big deal. I'll give you permission. Just ask.
Because I was gonna say there was one time that there was a Rivermen player out there practicing before us, who I'm assuming he probably just rented the floor or whatever he was doing.
Day is inside.
But
I don't know. He's conspiracy theories.
So that's what I was trying to think. I was like, no, there ain't no Rivermen out there.
There is one of my guys that have been running with the Warriors, but he got permission like probably before Christmas, so it's not a big deal.
Run free. You're a warrior.
Just making you sweat here a little bit.
Gang.
Well,
Warrior.
yeah, like you said, it'll just be having to look into, and then kind of for those guys knowing, right? Then maybe they stay senior C or something like that.
Well,
right?
and that's the thing, that it's tricky though with the Warriors being a Can-Am. Yes, they're a hometown team. We do our best to try to help each other. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if they cut a player, then if they cut a player that played last year, there's the whole transfer back to the OLA to try to get on a C team or a B team. So some of these moves have to happen fast, whether you like it or not.
Because these are all transactions and they cost money and time and effort, right? So and some players, they don't know what they're doing. You know, like they just know, hey, we want to roll out the ball and get out there. They don't realize what goes on behind the scenes to get them on the floor.
Which kind of pisses me off, because as adults, they're the ones that have to put in for the transfers.
Yeah.
And a lot of players don't know that the procedures, and I'm like, how do you not know this? Like I've talked to the owner of the Warriors. I've talked to you. There's players that could potentially go to the Warriors from us, whether it's their choice or ours. I've heard nothing back.
Well, the one name you gave me,
he
can come out. We want him to come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you his contact. You can reach out.
We can do that. Look at that. Right on camera. They're just things are going on here.
Wheeling and dealing.
Chris.
There you go.
Sitting back, just witnessing it all.
Oh, I have a question for you, Mr. Vale, before I forget again. I announced on the last podcast, or maybe the episode before, I put it out there. I said, Minor Lacrosse, if you need my help, I will come back and coach. Minor Lacrosse did reach out. I'm coaching the U15 field lacrosse team. First thing asked when I went to the very first practice, is Chris Vale going to help you?
Yeah, I can come out.
So I'm putting it right on camera, Chris. I need your help.
Yeah.
You want to coach U15 field lacrosse?
I could probably help you out some practices and stuff. We'll figure it out.
There we go.
You see that? You see that? Minor lacrosse president. Minor lacrosse president. I have an assistant coach now.
Just calls out the president of it.
I didn't even have to do to somebody getting sick in the Masters or whatever. They do like kind of, you got your commissioner and then you have your two junior side executives and your senior side. I ended up in the last meeting, I said, I'll take over the junior side.
Yeah.
Executives.
Your wife's going to be mad. You're going to be home even less now.
Yeah.
He's never home. But we actually have another question for you that came across on the Instagram. They said, are you going to be commentating again this year for the Chiefs? We want to see it.
Yeah, I'll probably reach out to that guy again and see. I know I was supposed to do the one game last year, but it was short notice. I already had a room and a family obligation in the Falls for one of those playoff games. But yeah, I would like to do it again. And
yeah, so
me and the same gentleman as last year, he was really good. Or if Daryl Smart needs a hand or time off, or maybe he wants
Daryl.
Maybe Daryl wants to take his wife out on a date and needs to free up that Tuesday night. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl Smart has been called out.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Tell the missus, be like, you need to take you out on a date. Get Chris to take cover for him.
She's going to want to probably go on a date every Tuesday now just to get Daryl out of the house, and you'll be the new face of the Chiefs media.
I don't want to take. Daryl's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
I'll do it with him too if he's around.
Yeah, I thought you did a good job, but I love hearing that people are asking more about people's personal lives, and they actually had a question for you.
Okay.
They wanted to know which one of your sons is your biggest supporter, and which one do you bump heads with the most?
Biggest supporter in what aspect is the counter question?
That was just the question.
All of my boys support what I do in their own way. My oldest son, Brody, he's pretty quiet, but I know if I had to ask him for anything, he would help. He would do it. I know that. Lane, when it comes to lacrosse, is probably who I bump heads with the most, but in a good way. Like I said, I had to sell him last year. We bump heads a lot when it comes to lacrosse, but I mean, he's there for anything that I need to, like any kind of support. He's there. Like I'm starting to bend sticks. They've put it. Actually, Brody's has bent sticks before me, so I'll be going to him, asking for his input on how to do things. Lane wants to give it a try. John is John Dirt. I mean, everybody calls him John Dirt since he was like 10 because he used to rock the mullet like Joe Dirt.
Yo, Joe Dirt is like my favorite character of all time. I'm like 100% serious.
But John's he's a bit of a rebel. He's never actually played for me, ever. So I tease him about that, and he just shakes his head and goes, I know, I should have did this. I'm like, I'm just teasing you. I'm not going to beat you up over it. Your path still brought you. He's playing in the ALL. He's playing semi-pro ball, so he's on the right path, even though it took him a little longer. But I can text him and say, hey John, I need you to do this, and he'll do it. He won't even ask. He'll just say okay, and it's done. My son Aiden was a football and rugby kid. He's on the grind. He works probably between 40 and 60 hours a week. Works at one of our local restaurants. So check it out. I'll give him a filthy plug here. Village Pizza. If you want wings, Aiden's your wingman. Literally.
Oh, we need a sponsor from Village Pizza.
Well, after this, yes. And Owen's been on the show. You guys.
Village Pizza, home of the big slice. I made that commercial once. I made that commercial for you. You guys don't even know it, but I did.
Well, now you got to say.
I was the voice of it too.
Village Pizza with Aiden the wingman.
Aiden the wingman.
There
Village
you go.
Pizza.
So, and Owen, well, you guys have met Owen. He's a chatterbox. If I want a long story to go along with a long drive, I just give him a topic and let him go. But he's starting to. He's calmed down a lot. His knee injury has, I think, put him in a different train of thought. He had to take over a year off to get his knee rebuilt. Like they totally rebuilt the damn thing. Got his brace. He's getting back on the floor. He's been on the floor with the U15s. I told him to come out just to get on the turf, get used to the brace. Said he was going to play Chicky League tonight, take a couple of shifts, see how it feels.
Are you going Chicky League? I know it's like happening like right now.
Yeah.
He'll be out. He's out on the floor getting his reps in because he's making a comeback. He's going to be playing Senior C with the Chaos.
Okay.
And John actually transferred from the Tomahawks to the Chaos to play with him. So that's the kind of support John lends. If you need him to do something, he'll do it. And Owen wants to do a lot of extracurricular things with me. He went out. He got his first Shakespeare ugly stick, so we can do a lot of fishing because he knows I fish every chance I get. So they support me in different ways. In lacrosse, I try to give them guidance, and honestly, there's a lot of times where I'm very cliche, and I have to say, I told you so. But there's a lot of times they prove me wrong, and I'm happy when they do, because it just shows that they have their own path. Yeah.
Because there's a lot, like I feel like most of our questions, like when I post like questions like on Instagram, if you guys aren't following us, follow us on Instagram at Creators Game Podcast. because I always put the questions out there, and I feel like they're not even really about the NLL. A lot of people are just like want to know like father and son type relationship, or like coaching advice and different things and what's going on with the community, and especially what's going on in Ontario lacrosse. We have such a huge following with Ontario lacrosse, and it's great because like you said before, like Ontario is the hotbed for lacrosse. So it's really good, and even being out in Markham and having people come up to you and like acknowledging and being like, yeah, I love the show and all that stuff. Like, it's really good. So
let me cut you off right there. Here's one for you.
Okay.
When I showed up to that first U15 practice, there was a group of dads standing there waiting.
Okay.
And I come along and they're like, Jay, right? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, great podcast. And they're all shaking my hand. So they watch this. And it's very humbling to see a group of parents that actually want to shake your hand instead of wanting to punch you out because of something you said. So it was pretty cool.
That's probably new for you.
It's very new for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're out there pissing everyone off and stuff.
There was some other quick news that could also apply locally. Ian McLaughlin, forward for Colorado Mammoth, just became 2 weeks ago the leading goal scorer in Colorado Mammoth history. Just yesterday, the day before, it was announced by Colorado Mammoth he will be on the holdout list because he's his new career as a firefighter. He played last summer, was one of the bigger goal scorers for the Chiefs. I'm assuming he's not flying in to stay in Caledonia for the summer because it looks like he's going to be, new career as a firefighter, and I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to have to now fill his spot on that lefty side.
Well, I'm a lefty, and I used to.
Maybe
this guy
be pretty fast.
Like you said, we were kind of the rumor mill of different players' names getting thrown around this winter. Maybe that's why. Maybe because he's a guy that 2 years ago he played for Peterborough. He's played for the Haudenosaunee Field and Box recently, and looks like he's kind of not hanging him up, but won't be available for Chiefs this.
We don't know
summertime.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe he had to just go put in a couple of months of training and he'll be available. We don't know.
You never know. Yeah, maybe he's on the IR list and he'll show up in the President's Cup ring.
I had another question.
In the man, I mean.
President's Cup's fine.
Yeah. He was on Ladner before, so I don't know.
This kind of goes back to the NLL meme guy.
Who nobody knows who it is to this day.
He has a great sense of humor anyways. Great sense of humor. But when he was talking about...
it's not me, I swear.
It's not. Probably is. Albany. The meme about Albany. So, like, are they doing that bad? Is it like that?
I don't know if they had just some different dynamics maybe as last year. I know a couple of weeks ago they had switched the coaches. The O coach became the D coach. D coach became the O coach. They won, then they lost again, and now they won again. So.
Because, like, I even seen that, like...
They were the worst team 2 years ago. Then last year they went on this magical run, and I think everybody assumed, and this year now they get Dyson Williams, the number one pick. They're going to be so much better, and maybe things just weren't clicking. Kind of, he's a ball carrier. He might have been taking the ball out of some of those guys' hands. Simmons, who was he rookie of the year last year? I know him and Kurtz were like kind of the tandem, and maybe throwing a Dyson Williams out there throws off the chemistry, and maybe it took time to maybe get the chemistry. So,
yeah, because I just like even looking at the comments and like some of the stuff and like Albany and stuff, like the comments. If you go on Albany's social media stuff, you can kind of see some of the hidden comments sometimes, and it'll be people complaining, like actual fans being like, "What are you guys doing? What are the coaches up to? Who's making these decisions?"
They did have some injuries on defense, and I know like they've got at least one of their main defenders back this past week, so I'm sure that's. Dougie's a good goalie, but obviously too, you still need some good defenders in front of you. So I don't know if those injuries kind of hurt him.
He's doing his job, but he has a whole team in front of him who,
And like you said, but then it comes to the effect of like you have a good goalie, so you always have a chance to win. So, but I mean, I don't know I don't see them making the playoffs this year, but maybe in the next year they could still kind of build off that.
And then what about Toronto Rock? I seen Dalwick having a couple goals there.
Yeah. Did he trade away everybody to re-sign his son to a multi-year deal? Is that what it looks like?
No, he had to free up some budget somehow, right? He was like, you know what? If we're gonna make room, let's make room for my son.
He didn't give away Tommy Schreiber. Everybody said he was going to Colorado. This is from the owner's mouth years ago, me and him talking to Dalwick, where they had gotten Kevin Crowley in 2015 from New England. And then they ended up trading him back to New England for Dan Littner, who New England had picked. And he said, Kevin Crowley at the time was living in Philadelphia, it was tough to fly him up from Toronto. There was no real direct flights, I guess, at the time. And he's like, Tommy Schreiber. I was like, oh, you're going to trade Tommy Schreiber to New York Riptide? Because it was the first year the Riptide were coming about. Schreiber does live in New Jersey, it turns out now, but he grew up in East Meadow, which is literally the town over from the Coliseum. He's like, I'm not giving up Tommy Schreiber. He's like, those flights are an hour from JFK in New York City, and he's got no problem coming here, and I'm not trading Captain America just yet. And he hasn't, right?
Yeah.
He's outlived the Riptide. He's still playing for Toronto, and the Riptide are in Ontario too. So, so people assumed he was going to give him to Colorado. He didn't.
Well, like Dowick's son, Dowick Jr., right? I guess it would be. Is he junior?
Josh, I guess Josh.
Okay,
Dowick.
he's not a junior.
Yeah, I was thinking Jamie one time too. But yeah, he's just Josh Dowick, and he's doing good.
Yeah, he's good, but is he worth what he's getting, or is what he's getting because of who his dad is? Just a general question. I don't really know.
I think he was
what
on
he's
like a rookie deal. They just kind of signed him. That's the thing. They don't ever says. Nobody ever really says when they say, "Oh, they signed a 3-year deal," but it doesn't say he signs. Like the one girl for the LA Sparks, right, with the whole WNBA thing, she says, "Oh, I'm happy. I'm getting $76,000 a year." And Angela Reese wants to sit out and stuff, and none of the lacrosse salaries aren't as this guy signed for $35,000 for 2 years.
35,000 for
like nobody ever says that, you know what I mean? Like what they're actually kind of signing for.
Well,
or like those NFL salaries, right? They're like, what's his name? Just signed. He's getting. $20 million and $12 million is guaranteed. He gets it no matter what. Like the NLL salary just says, so it's just like Dowick. I think what he signed for like 3 years or something like that. It was a multi-year deal.
Well, didn't even back to the trades that just happened. Didn't Del Bianco even say that his trade waiting out? It wasn't about money, right?
He just wanted to stay home because he's from Vancouver. I think he has his own construction business or what would you say, kind of. I think maybe he does drywalls and stuff construction, and I think he just kind of was looking to grow his own business. I don't know if they said something about he was getting married too this year or something like that. So he just, even on his quick flight to Calgary, he still just wanted to stay home with.
But it would be interesting to know because if he is the best goalie in the league as they're saying, I'm sure he got a pretty penny. So has that been announced?
I don't think it'll ever be announced unless you talk to an NLL player and they're willing to give you what they make. I don't think we'll ever truly know. And you make different salaries depending on who you are, how long you've played, blah blah blah. Like Chris said, rookie salaries in NLL aren't very high. But if you look at an NHL rookie salary, they're making $750,000 as a rookie per year.
Oh yeah,
and a lacrosse player may make that in 5 years.
Practice squad in the NFL, I think they're making like $100,000 or $200,000 just to be in the practice squad. Guy never suiting up, and in the lacrosse, they're making $100 every 2 weeks or something.
But
like
still,
that,
though,
practice squad.
Even him holding out, him having a media presence, having a voice now,
and did that play a part of getting it?
Yeah,
now,
so
right?
him holding out, having a media presence, making it known that he wants to play, kind of, saying kind of like what he wants to do. He's kind of hinting it out there. I wonder how much he got, because that's almost setting the standard for everyone else, because if he didn't get what he wanted and he's considered the top player, anybody else below him ain't going to get what they want. Well, so you kind of have to set that as the bar.
Because that CBA for next year, too, of how much money are these guys going to get, and what's... And like you said, the lacrosse, it is different because different teams are getting... Like they said, this team might be in the red, this team may be in the green.
Show me your T4.
Yeah, it's pretty much like they want to... I guess that's what they were saying. Those players want to see the books or their NLPA.
Here's one for you. I wonder if players in the NLL... I wonder if their pay is structured like in the NHL, where an NHL player has to pay the taxes whatever.
I think they do.
Whatever place they're playing.
90% of my work is done on reserve. Bud, you played in Toronto last night.
Well, that's the thing, though. I
don't pay taxes.
Like players that are playing in Seattle, obviously they're going to be taxed by the state of Washington. But if they fly across the country and go play in Florida, on that game's pay, they have to pay Florida state taxes.
I know there is.
Ooh.
I know too. Some teams they do incentives. You score this many goals, you get this. Do this, you get that. Playoffs, you get this. Championship, you get that. So these teams do put incentives too in their guys' contracts.
Some players too in their contracts in the NLL. I don't know if it's still like this, but I know before it was because I've talked to a couple of players. Their contract is a year long or 2 years or however many years, but it's for the year. So when their season's done, they still have to do stuff as per contract. They have to like run camps. They have to, go make school appearances. They have to do these things because it's part of their contract. They're signed for a year, so they have to do things in the off season. I think Six Nations Fall Field really benefited from that 1 year because U16 in 2012 we had Micah Kersey and Matt Vink help with the Fall Field team. Went undefeated that year actually. So there was those two guys, Kersey and Vink, and Jason Johnson and myself, and I just stood back and watched and listened. And I was a sponge on the bench that year.
With dates, because like during COVID 2020. All those guys signed like 1 year deals in August of 2020. And then there was no 2020-21 season. All those same guys, some guys did jump ship and didn't re-sign with that team they signed with in 2020 with their no season. Some guys did move to maybe San Diego or back to Calgary. And some other guys signed that 1 year deal in 2020 with the team. Then they signed that same 1 year deal again in 2021 because I guess what it was more the dating. The date was, they signed till August of 2020 to August 2021. So even though there was no season, instead of pushing those contracts to that next season, they ended up having to redo it all again.
They're probably like, let me amend those contracts. No, we're not going to amend those. We're going to keep the money. Because that's what the contracts is, right? For this season and whether they played or not, like,
and like you said, Dan Lomas, right? He kind of made a hint on their podcast about, he got cut this year by Rochester and he's not in the NLL. That's a good chunk of change that he's not getting with, he's got a corporate job and something about his boss being like, sorry, I heard you got cut. And they were like, you should ask tell him you want a raise because you just lost out on a substantial amount of money. Where that's good. If you have a real job, then this is like you're making another 20, 30 G's US with your real gig. That's like solid cash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's super interesting to think about, like the business side of it. Like going state to state and playing in different states.
Some guys, even a lot of players do themselves. Like Ryan Keenan was just saying on the podcast, this last contract he made with his dad, Derek Keenan, GM and a co-head coach, formerly just the head coach of the Rush. He said he's like, I've gone through some hard negotiations with my dad before, so this last one he just hired an agent to do it. But would he ever leave the Rush? I don't know. But his dad's running the show there.
Slap in the face to dad. Your kid hires an agent to negotiate with you.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, an agent might not actually get you much more because unless the agent is completely aware of the budgets that the NLL have, they wouldn't know what to ask for because you can't ask for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of this. This other guy, he had like a funny name. I met him once. He was kind of a big guy, and I guess he was a lacrosse agent for a lot of, I don't know if he was Paul Rabels, but I guess they said he did stuff for a lot of the St. Catharines guys, the Billy D's and Vino and all those guys. And
well, an agent has to have a grasp on what the NLL salary is because they don't get paid if they don't make a good enough deal, right?
Well, yeah, they get commission, but also like they could be, they could put all that time in and like not get anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like they're gonna have
lawyers,
to know. But
I don't know if Dewey Jacobs still does it, but I know he was, as being a lawyer, I know he was an agent for a lot of local players years ago.
It's pretty much just like if you can read a contract and you can articulate that contract to the person who's potentially going to sign it, and you can, potentially get them more for what they're about to sign, then you're technically an agent. As long as you know how that part works.
There's been talks, or I've had talks with players before of other players looking out for other players. Hey, don't sign that deal. It's not good enough. And even that player was telling me, and I was like, oh yeah, I've listened to your teammate because I was like, yeah, that contract does sound shitty. It's like, especially when they were the first pick of that team's franchise, and it had a lot of, like I said, incentives of, win a playoffs and championship, and that team 5 years later still hasn't made the playoffs. New York Riptide / Ottawa. So I was like, you're not going to get that extra 1,000 and then that extra 2,000 if you win the championship year one because they still haven't even made the playoffs.
Yeah, like I'm waiting for someone locally on junior or and on like junior A or even senior B, because like some of these players now can become stars. Like I'm waiting for one of these players to come out and be like, hey, like I'm trying to make connections with bigger brands and stuff like that. Because even if you look right now, Instagram's kind of the thing, right? It's like, how many followers you got on Instagram, and then you can leverage that to how much money you can potentially make. There are some players on Six Nations who have just as much followers as those professional players, and even more, and probably more influence.
That's kind of been the knock on the PLL. Is the PLL, oh, I'm better than that guy, but that guy's got this many Instagram followers, so the league makes sure he plays and then I don't play. And that's been the big knock on the Premier Lacrosse League is it's the social media league, and it all that matters is how, hey, what's up, and what do you do kind of your own, and it doesn't matter if you put the ball in the net. And even for them, they talked about years ago, MLL guys. I was even talking about some players in the NLL recently, Jamie Lincoln, Jay Card. I was like, what the hell ever happened to those guys? Good players, have these good college careers, play 1 or 2 years pro, and then they're done. And then the MLL, that was their whole thing. A guy would play that first summer out of college, maybe 1 or 2 more years, and then you'd find them, they're just, working and married and stuff and kind of quit playing lacrosse or quit playing at least professionally. And PLL said they weren't going to be like that kind of league. They were going to make sure guys were kind of almost, if not playing full time, right, being full time professional athletes, at least make substantial amount where they're not going to have to worry about quitting, 3 years after college. And Chris Gray, who's now the leading, he's got 4 or 5 more career points. Obviously, he played a little extra games because of the COVID years, beat Lyle Thompson's record. He's retired from professional lacrosse, 2-3 years in. And that was a little knock because he's making way more money as a stockbroker and a, mortgage worker and stuff. And they had a lot of guys quitting years ago for college lacrosse coaches. So kind of the knock on Twitter a couple weeks ago was the PLL. Oh, you're saying you're not the major league lacrosse, but you pretty much are because guys are still quitting after just a couple of years to focus on their real careers where you don't see that in football and stuff
well,
like
it's
that, right?
probably because these guys are finding out that the real like lacrosse is just like the music industry. Kind of the thing is like people start off is like, yeah, I'm in love with lacrosse. I love lacrosse. The same way that people love music, they create it, they wake up and they live and they breathe it. But then eventually you get into the business side and you're like, how can I make money off this? Because I got to feed my family. I need a roof over my head and all these different things. And then like even let's talk about like the PLL and the NLL. To me, the NLL is like UFC and the PLL is kind of like wrestling. They're all about like the PLL is kind of all about like the hoopla and like how can we make this look really, really good on TV and how can we all like sit around and talk about it afterwards.
Even they're little when they were like they were kind of allowing fighting, but they weren't real like NLL fights. It was a lot of just scuffles a couple years ago.
It's almost scripted.
Yeah.
So like PLL is kind of like wrestling. It's like the WWE, which is great. WWE is a huge entertainment. A lot of money to be made.
A big thing in the bubble when they had Matt Gaudette and mic'd him up and he tripped Blaze Reardon. Obviously that started shit the next year with fingers getting bit, but you know what I mean? Like it was a whole thing of like Matt Gaudette had that. Why did they let this rookie, have this microphone on? And then he was chirping all game against Blaze Reardon, and it was almost like you said, scripted and WWE like, right?
Yeah, like and that's what I see as the PLL. It's WWE, whereas the NLL potentially can be like the UFC, where it's boxed in. You think about it, like it's like some gladiator type shit, right? Like when we seen that fight with Dash, that's what got the people going was the fact that they were fighting. It was like mano a mano. Even when I think of like that fight there, like the little NHL and like how people just kind of scuffled. To me, that's not even a cool fight. That's not even cool at all.
Because really,
like I want people to meet in the middle, see each other eye to eye, and then fight.
Because really, these games aren't on ESPN. They're on in the States ESPNU. Which then it's not even college or university. Where the hell's it on ESPNU or ESPN News plays it, then ESPN Plus, where at least in Canada it's on the main TSN on TV. Some of the games, but like they're not even really on the main or ESPN2, where like those college games, like the NCAA championship and stuff, are at least on ESPN2.
That still boggles my mind that lacrosse is Canada's national sport, and you can't even get on one of their national networks.
And like I said, hey, lacrosse has grown, right? At least you can, there is games at least on TV and online where years ago there wasn't. And guys are making more money than they were years ago, where guys, they said they made $300-400 after an NLL game in 2000. So they're making more than that now. And like you said, lacrosse has been, I want to be a player to make money. I want to work for a lacrosse company to make money. I want to coach. I want to run camps. I want to train on my own. So you kind of have to do a conglomerate of your hustle.
Yeah.
And do multiple things in lacrosse to make it a full-time gig.
Yeah, and then that kind of leads to like one of my final questions, I guess, would be is this that like we're seeing media rise within lacrosse, and we're seeing more of the players become podcasters.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're even seeing like I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago we were talking about there's no commercials like on any of these NLL games, but now I seen there's a couple commercials. You know, they're getting out there,
and it's just like you said. I was going to say it is the NBA and the NFL, and even we're talking recently about how many NBA podcasts there are now that there is a lot of more lacrosse podcasts and. Like the players even kind of doing it themselves. Hockey's got a lot of podcasts, so kind of seeing at least down lacrosse, like, oh, okay, we'll get on it too. Now the NLL, halfway through the season, they made one too now. So keep listening to us though. But
the Halifax podcast. So I support Halifax. You know, they do great media. I love the broadcast they do. However, the podcast, that one guy on there, he doesn't budge. He just smiles the whole time.
Is it the NLL though with the Halifax people?
I don't know, but I just don't like that he smiles the whole time. Make a reaction.
It was
or
one
something.
they're like in a room, right?
Yeah, like
with the girl and everything.
Give a head nod or like something. You're just smiling the whole time and just like I want something.
And that's tough too because on the NLL podcast, are they going to really deep dive you, or are they just going to kind of sugarcoat it because it is company brand?
That's why we stand out, is because
Wait a minute. I just sat here for 20 minutes with a smile on my face because you guys wouldn't shut up.
What are you talking about?
I think too it's tougher because those guys zoom in too, right? So it's like, oh shit, see a big pie face on the screen, right?
Yo, big pie face. Yo, I haven't heard that one in years. Pie face. Oh, heck. Bring it back, man. Holy. Legendary. But yeah, the podcast game, the media game, and lacrosse. So like, I want to ask you guys, like, what's the next evolution? You know, if you look at the NBA, you look at the NFL, NHL. After you got players and you got fans having reaction videos, you have podcasts. What's the next evolution? What do you guys think?
Are they gonna ever bring back more video games? NLL Blast was a long time ago, and there's been a couple like. They've tried, but I think like even video games, right? Suck some kids in. The kids love this. Love video games. Suck some bring them back in.
Pie face and suck some kids in.
Yeah.
You're right back to the white van and free candy right there.
Yeah. We'll get this game growing.
Yeah, we'll get this game growing.
But yeah, like NLL Blast, like I played it like that, and that was maybe 2001 when it came out, and that was the first year I played lacrosse. So that was like maybe I lucked out. I remember going to Toys R Us and buying it. And
2001, I was listening to 50 Cent. You're at Toys R Us.
Hey, he didn't come out to 2003. So.
No, in 2001 he was out. He got famous.
That's when he was 45 cents.
That's when he got shot.
Yeah. He got famous. Or not? Well, he got famous 2003, but he was out.
I think for us personally, we need to revisit. Possibly being in front of a live audience. I think that's what we need to revisit.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe down the road we can.
Yeah, I think.
Can we get the NLL stepped away from like those outdoor games? Remember they did that one in, was it Navy Stadium or where did they or Air?
They did one in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they did the one in the Vegas, and they were doing the one. Was it the SEALs? And where did they do it? It was San Diego outside Navy kind of area. Not Navy, like Maryland, but
their naval base.
Yeah, naval base, yeah. But they haven't done it since. So you kind of almost, can you get tradition there or kind of like,
well, I think with the NLL doing outdoor games, it's going to have to be
in the warmer spots.
Yeah, and what's the warmest spot? San Diego. I mean, Florida doesn't have a team anymore. Texas is gone. But Texas gets winters like we do now, so really the only places are San Diego and Las Vegas.
Let's get an outdoor game in Buffalo. That'd be crazy, huh? Some snow lacrosse. Hey, there's been some snow lacrosse in field lacrosse, right? And that's a knock on college lacrosse. It's a springtime sport, but it starts in January, right?
Well, and here's the other thing: if you're gonna have an outdoor game in Buffalo during the NLL season, then players are going to want Josh Allen salaries to play one game outside in the snow.
If we get them in the new Bill Stadium,
Okay,
Well, they're $1 billion behind on that.
Yeah.
so we got a possible lacrosse game, like an actual like maybe PS5 or something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
or, you know, you're saying more like having an outdoor lacrosse game, like in the NLL.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Like I said, right now the only spots that are doable are Vegas or San Diego because they're the warmest through the seasons because the season's in the winter. Maybe right now you might be able to get a few places that are a little warmer because it's warming up outside, but will professional players want to risk playing in the chillier weather? I don't know.
Will the NLL? There's no talks on expansion early. Are they going to stick with this amount of teams they got, or are they going to?
They'll eventually
back up in another
They'll
year?
eventually expand. Like every team that has an NHL team, what they should be doing is doing the same model as like what the Bandits do, right? You know how they change the ice into the turf every week. Other arenas can do that. Like it's lucrative. You know, you can make money off this stuff. So if anyone tells you that you can't make money off the NL, they're wrong.
Well, look at where the NCAA lacrosse hotbed is predominantly Northeast and East Coast, but teams have tried. Like for what was the Charlotte team?
There was it was like 98 or something, right? The Charlotte Cobras, and then
then
there was a Baltimore Thunder and a Pittsburgh team.
With the PBLA a couple of years ago, there was a team in North Carolina, but it didn't go. So for whatever reason, these places are huge on NCAA lacrosse, but box lacrosse just is not catching on the East Coast. I mean, like you said, the Riptide got run out of town.
And like you said, college, it gets kind of crazier too because now just college sports in general, right? The transferring and all these guys just kind of going everywhere. I think was too, Hofstra had a historic NIL deal. Obviously, we hear that more in the football and the basketball, and the money floating around was Hofstra was paying each player on their team, no matter the best player or the worst player, $500, and they were going to invest that, and whoever made the most money in their investments at the end of the year, that donor was going to give him an extra $500. So hey, at least NIL deals in lacrosse, right? We know those aren't really huge revenue sports like the bowl games, March Madness are in basketball and football, but at least some money's going to float around there as well.
I'm still surprised that a team never took off in the Baltimore area because there's so many schools there.
Even honestly, ML never really did. They were the Baltimore Bayhawks. They were the Chesapeake Bayhawks. They were Washington DC Bayhawks. Like,
Why
so
isn't there a Michigan team?
I don't know. And then there hasn't been since the Detroit Turbos.
Dewey Jacobs played for
he used to
Detroit.
play for it, yeah.
But like the Baltimore area, even JUCO, the Essex College right there, great club. And then you got is it Loyola?
Yeah, tons of schools.
Yeah.
You got Georgetown right there. You got
Georgetown.
Maryland, UMBC. And,
Is Navy based there? Or is it Army?
Yep.
Navy.
Navy,
Yeah,
yep.
Navy's right there. So you got all these schools.
Stevenson's a D3 school, like you said, all those JUCO schools, and there's Hood College, I think was Maryland. Like there are a lot of smaller schools too, right? And
Yeah.
Goucher was a small school.
Another question that someone had asked in the Instagram was, is it possible for NCAA to get into box lacrosse?
That'd be cool, and a lot of people want to even talk to some guys around here that are like, that'd be really cool.
There is a college league, isn't there?
It's just like the collegiate league, but it's not really college.
No.
It's college age players.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of those guys are playing it.
In the field schools, yeah.
Yeah, and they're from field lacrosse schools. I think it'd be a great idea to put NCAA box lacrosse. I think it'd be huge, even if it wasn't NCAA, MCLA, NAIA. It might be something for NAIA to do first because they're a smaller group.
And one thing that's pretty cool about the NLL is how many NLL players just came for some random colleges. There's like that. There, D2 Walsh. There's that Grand Canyon MCLA schools put guys out. There's been Cam Holding. He was Grand Valley MCLA. He did play a little bit at Florida Southern D2. Obviously, there's Tampa's. Tons of guys from D3 RIT. There's Aiden Walsh, backup goalie, went 1 year to Hartford Junior College in Maryland. So like that, where these guys don't have to all go to Hopkins, Virginia, Syracuse.
Hutchie.
They can be for whatever, but mainly because of that box career or summertime. Lacrosse is what gets them to the NLL.
Drew Hutchison, RIT guy. And now he's in the show.
So it is possible, and there is interest out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like a little bit. There's been some like small school guys have gone, pro field as well, but it just seems to be more in the box game where it seems to be because like obviously, like the one guy I guess for the Walsh D2, he's a backup goalie for Calgary, but I guess he was a forward or attackman I should say in field lacrosse and like for Walsh.
Dougie Jameson.
Yep, face-off guy.
Yeah,
attack, right?
One of the best Fogos and attackmen that I've seen playing college ball, but his focus was being a goalie. I don't think he's ever went in net and field. Maybe once or twice at practice.
You got to be a different type of animal to want to go in net and field.
Well,
just to stand in front of I respect you if you want to go in net because it's really hard to do. But holy man, just to stand there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna stop all this.
How come there's so many American face-off guys in the NLL? That was one of my questions.
Whatever happened to Justin? He was an American face-off guy, right?
Update. He's actually texted me just in the last couple of days. He is going to be trying out in Can-Am.
Oh, what?
He's also going to be coming up for Rivermen tryouts. So yeah, he's focused. He's still focused on a box career. He's still trying to get to the NLL, but he wants to either crack a Can-Am roster or a Rivermen roster.
And like obviously Vegas, their guy got ran out of town. He had that botch fight, and they brought in Hammer Jackson, who's from BC. Another guy who went to ASA, kind of junior college, and but then you got Tim Edwards, Connor Farrell, the milkman for Buffalo. A lot of these teams are like, a lot of things are Fogo based in the States. And if you're lacrosse, a lot of guys want to be Fogos, get on, get off. They've kind of mastered that craft, maybe more than some box players. Obviously, Justin, is it Iacone? I don't know, kind of botch his name. Good old Italian boy from Oakville, I think he's from. And he's the face-off guy for Calgary. He went to Ohio State. He just re-signed PLL. So obviously Withers, Peterborough guys. So there are some good Canadians face-off guys, but there's like tons of these teams are kind of bringing in more American kind of Fogos to the NLL. Kind of, they want the ball, right? Was it last year, 2 years ago when Albany's face-off guy tore his ACL, was at Team USA field tryouts, and they had no face-off guy all year. And that was 2 years ago. Yeah, they sucked. They were that one guy. I think it was Trevor Batiste when he was still wings. He won like 24-0 on faceoffs. He won every single faceoff that game for Albany. And then whoever they brought in was a guy from the American guy from UNC, but I don't know if he was much of if he was really that good. Obviously he was good. He was a UNC faceoff guy. They said he was doing, in between periods, was flipping his laptop and doing whatever brokerage work. In between
like in between, hustling.
Yeah,
you gotta hustle, man. You gotta hustle.
And he hasn't played since in any of the pro leagues, so maybe he just went full-time work after that. Kind of gets, hey, I played had my cup of coffee in pro lacrosse, and he's playing men's league somewhere in the summertime.
Chickie League.
Yep.
Chickie League. But yeah, the reason I was asking about what's next for the evolution after and for media and lacrosse and all that stuff, because we have podcasting. You had mentioned video games possibly being made about lacrosse, an outdoor lacrosse game. I think one thing that would help make the lacrosse grow would be a reality TV show. And I actually have a reality TV show that I want to pitch. Because there's actually this program that I believe is put on by like Indigenous Screen Office, and you have to go down to Banff in Alberta to pitch basically like a film or a TV project. So what I want to do is I want to pitch an idea of a reality show, and it's basically just two senior teams from Six Nations, two different stories, two different models of how they're going to get to the championship of the President Cup. It'd be the Warriors and the Rivermen, following those two storylines, and hopefully you guys both meet up at the President's Cup, and it'd be a great reality show.
I'm still stuck at going to Banff. I'm going with you to go fish.
You're going fishing, this guy. But yeah, no, Banff, they do a lot of arts out there, a lot of like films and different stuff like
you said, definitely, I find those like shows pretty good. Like obviously the Netflix has the Receiver, the QB, and Last Chance U was always a solid one. And then I'll give it to the Rock City, like their YouTube channel. They do a great job with their in-season show. And I know a couple of teams a couple of years ago were trying. I didn't really catch anything. Nothing caught my eye really this season. Coquitlam tried something last year similar to that, but episode 1 and then a month later seemed to be episode 2. So
no, you got to be consistent. You got to keep doing it every single week, and I think that will drive ticket sales for both teams at the door. I think it'll get notoriety for a lot of players on Six Nations who are talented and who deserve a chance to be seen on the floor and outside of the floor, because some of these players are actually talented. They could be a lot more than just lacrosse players, and even if lacrosse doesn't work out for them, there's opportunities out there. But yeah, that's one of my ideals is a reality TV show based around lacrosse, and I think that would do great. It would be kind of like Shoresy, Letterkenny, or even if you think about
Brooker Mir was on Shoresy.
I'm sure he's got some connections. You should say, hey man, why don't you be a star of the show?
I filmed for APTN. Maybe I got connections.
Hey, I'm sure they know exactly who we are.
Let's get Jay in our third show here.
Yeah, but just know, my IP still exists. I said it out loud. So, but yeah, that's just my ideals. I want to know what you guys think. And before we get out of here, any last minute topics? Anything been going on in the lacrosse world that you want to get out there? You want to do one look in the camera, talk to the people?
Look down the barrel?
Yeah, look down the barrel.
Lack of floor time. Where does the Warriors and Fire play this year? We'll have to see. Is it around here? Is it Brantford? Is it Hagersville?
No, we got to have a talk about this. We got to have a talk about this. We're going to leave it for the end of the podcast right here too. Why are the Rivermen doing this to the Warriors?
I don't know what you're talking about. First of all,
for the audience who don't know, the Rivermen were playing at the GPA all last year. Warriors came out, started a new team last year, and they're at the ILA. Now all of a sudden, the Rivermen are moving to the ILA, and the Warriors currently don't have no place to go. And the Warriors are 100% home team.
Well, you'd say that the Rivermen, they've always been home.
I'm talking 100%
home team.
Community is waiting.
The Rivermen have spent 12 years at the Gaylord Paulus Arena, now renamed back to its original name, the Six Nations Sports Memorial Cultural Center. As far as the move to the ILA, that was an executive decision. That wasn't something I did. That wasn't anything an individual did. As far as putting the Warriors out, to my knowledge, most of their games were in the afternoon. Ours are in the evening, so I don't see how that puts them out.
Well, no, I think pretty sure all their games were in the evening. Were they?
It was more what he had. They had it last year. Was more the Fire afternoon.
Yeah, the Fire was in the afternoon, and the Warriors were in the evening.
Well, in my defense, I went to one Warriors game, and it seemed to be in the afternoon. But
no,
that's neither here nor there. Any move that was made was not intentional or to put anybody else out of a home. I mean, there's reasons that I can't really disclose on the air as to why the move was made. But again, it wasn't a one-person idea. It was an executive decision. Many meetings were held. As far as the Six Nations Sports Memorial Cultural Center now is wide open. Minor lacrosse plays there, and that's it. There's no senior or junior team there. So,
like you said, Six Nations minor, besides the Fraser tournament, they have no weekend or Friday games. So
no. I'll say this: the best reason I can come up with, without exposing anything, is growing pains.
Growing pains.
For you guys, I was going to say just all Saturday games?
I believe the schedule is out, and it's all Saturday games, yes.
That was the one I first heard of the move, was just you guys had played a lot of Friday games, so that's why I didn't know. Saturday games, too, obviously, you guys have played in the past, but I know you guys, there's always a good handful of Friday games.
I think there might be one Sunday game that we have afternoon.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I was like, and maybe that played in the factor in other years of maybe having to be GPA with Rebels being Friday nights, but like you said, if you're able, hey, here's the schedule, we get all Saturday games, might as well make the move.
Well,
right?
what a lot of things, like, there's so much goes on behind the scenes with every team. Like the Rebels My son played for them. I was on the executive briefly a few years ago. Friday nights are not a given. You just don't wake up one day in the off season and go, I have nothing to worry about as far as floor time, because Friday nights are. They still have to rebook those every year. They still have to go into the ILA sports office and book those Fridays. Same with minor lacrosse. They have to book every year. The Chiefs, they have to book every year.
Yep.
The Arrows have to book every year. So when we looked at our schedule and
like I said, it made sense and it worked, right?
yeah,
So
like Saturday nights were available, so why not?
Yeah, I just like I just think back to
you got to be quick. You got to be quick, and you got to first come first serve, and you got to be on. Right? It's just how
But like, there's like a bigger like. I just think when and because I know both parties involved, right? So like, I know Wayne and Danny's the captain of the other team, right? And we all grew up together at Hagersville High School. We would all sit there every morning, and we would eat breakfast together, and we would talk about. You know, some of them we were talking about what they're going to do in their pro or what they're going to do in their career life. But we were all friends, and we would never take from each other. If anything, we would give to each other. So to now be grown men and be like, not fighting over floor time, because I've never heard anybody even upset really about it. They just want a way to figure out how they can make it work. Well, so like what I would suggest is like the Fire play in the afternoon, then have the Warriors, and then have the Rivermen. It can all work. You can have the Fire at 1, the Warriors at 4, the Rivermen at like 8. It can all, and then ILA can make money. All the teams can make money. It can be a huge thing.
What time are you guys' game? 7?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
If we just work together, I'm sure it can be done. It takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of, hey, let's try to look at the schedule and figure out how we can do it. But if we care about our community, then I think we should do it.
To my knowledge, the Rivermen schedule was sent to the Warriors.
I don't know.
And like you said, was it just OLA makes it sooner than Can-Am? That's what some rumblings I was hearing too,
I'm
right?
saying I'm trying to think of solutions. Like what's done is done. You got the floor time.
It's a little tougher though too, because we're going with conglomerates here. This is OLA, this is Can-Am, where it's not just these two teams saying, hey, we're deciding the schedule. It's these leagues and people, like Jay says, behind the scenes, even leagues making the schedule. So if they're 7 and Warriors are 7, then it can't work, right? They can't just all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to make it 3 o'clock and make Onondaga, wake up earlier and find busing and accommodations to come up here earlier. But it would be cool.
The problem is that both parties aren't even communicating to try to make it work.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it might have to just be, they're just going to have to, find the Gaylord Palace Arena. We know it's open. These guys don't have the floor time there. It's community based. I heard rumblings that you don't even have to put your credit app in, so it might be even quicker to get. Where a couple of years ago, right, they were doing the credit app thing. But
that's the problem in this community. That's how it always works. We all work in silos. We don't communicate. We could simply just two teams could communicate and they'd be like, how can we work this? We can work this out. We really, really want to. And then I'm sure somehow, some way, some of the games might not be able to work, but some of them can. But the fact is that both teams aren't communicating. That's why I'm saying this.
They probably don't.
They will.
I wouldn't want to move around. I don't want to play a couple games there and a couple games here. I'd rather just, hey, if I can just go all straight GPA, I'll go all straight GPA. If you can go all straight ILA, go straight all ILA.
Well, look, a prime example is the Clearview Crushers in the Senior B loop.
You said they moved as well, right?
Well, I was with them in their inaugural season, and we didn't really have a home arena. We played some here, played some here, we played some here. Now, they've been rebranded, renamed, and have a home arena. They're now called the Collingwood Cruise.
And I haven't seen that posted. Have that ever really been posted besides you telling me and showing me? That time I did. Well, I didn't know if it's still. Obviously, it's happening. I just didn't know if
the schedule went out.
Seniors.
The schedule went out. Our schedule was posted. It still said Clearview on it. Owner of Clearview got a hold of me and said, "Hey, we're now Collingwood." So the schedule was changed. It was reposted to say Collingwood. Gotcha. So whether or not it's been made official by the OLA, our schedule being posted has Collingwood on it.
And like you said, cool name, cool concept and stuff like that. And I think even in the past I've seen like James gang, let's say they've gone through a couple different name changes over years, maybe moved this. I seen they were Norwood once, and then they were Ennismore before. So like they've kind of, I think they were even named after the bar in town previously.
Well,
James gang, so
I have a good working relationship with the guys in Clearview, with the owner in Clearview. We still get along. We talk about things outside of lacrosse. So, you know, for him to text me and say, hey, we're not Clearview anymore, we're Collingwood. I did text back and say, has that been made official by the league? But we changed the schedule anyways. Our schedule's out. There's been no backlash on it.
Yeah, like you said, they're Collingwood, right? Like,
I'm going to assume that's okay because the schedule's out.
Everybody knows where Collingwood was. Nobody knew where Clearview was. So maybe kind of even for them, for branding purposes, it works.
And you know, I think it might have worked out better for them too because they want it to be under a home barn. They never had one. Like we were working with Stainer Minor Lacrosse up there, and we played in the Stainer Arena. We play in a couple other arenas. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, like you said, just schedules are out. You just gotta, games are around the corner next month, and because you guys start at end of April as well. Games.
We start April 26th
yep,
on
I didn't
the road.
Check the schedule yet, but
on the road in Owen Sound.
Ooh, there you go. No fights. I know we always know.
I can't promise anything.
I can't promise that.
Rough games. The playoff fights from 2019 were floating around. Everybody's like, is this new? No, season hasn't started yet.
Is this new?
Yeah, that I was surprised that video resurfaced again too.
It was awesome.
I was getting those. You guys started already?
Yeah.
No, but I can't say yes or no as to whether or not that's how they'll start.
And like we said, Owen Sound Senior B and Senior A this year, are they going to have the same issues of last year of their players playing all around, or are they going to have kind of set lineups? I wonder. Well,
and that leads into the whole APing and affiliations issues. Rivermen have players who obviously are playing Senior B for the Rivermen, so we have their B rights, but some of them play Owen Sound Senior A, some play Coburg Senior A. So just because their B card is with the Rivermen doesn't necessarily mean their A card is with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and like you said, that seems to be a newer thing the last couple of years of that kind of being allowed.
Yeah, and even in AP affiliation, like we're affiliated, it is pretty much assumed that because we're the same location that we're affiliated with the Six Nations Tomahawks. And I've had conversations with them, and in 2023, I kind of built that relationship. Coming back as the head coach and GM with the Tomahawks. Moving forward with the Rivermen in 2024, we affiliated with them, and I had been in conversation in the off season, and we're staying affiliated with the Tomahawks, but each team can affiliate with two lower teams. But that's not to say that's the only players we can use.
Well, how about the Canadian First Nations League, where technically the Fire was not associated with the Warriors last year, and they were not able to call up any Fire players because they did not put the paperwork in to be an affiliate, where the guy owns both teams.
It was a growing year.
Yeah, the guy owns.
They're learning.
No. Like, well, I was even kind of shocked. I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Oh, there had to be a whole thing put in where it's like you asked the guy to put in a junior B team, and we're like, oh yeah, you could affiliate both." Nobody ever said anything had to kind of.
Now on that, I had a player who reached out asking about coming to Rivermen tryouts. And I said, where did you play last year? With the Fire. And I said, hang on, I got to find out something. So I messaged somebody over that is pretty high up in the Can-Am League, and he's also an official over there. And I said, hey, I got a player that played last year with the Fire, wants to come to the Rivermen tryouts. Do the Warriors own his B rights or his FNLA rights or whatever? And he said, yes, the Warriors own those graduating Fire players' rights.
Which, and that's what I thought. And that was kind of almost in the years of if they're only allowed to transfer over so many players, that's how they can sustain now, because they can kind of have these guys in B and then kind of keep that pipeline rolling. But yeah, that was weird last year that they were like, oh, that you're not allowed to AP any guys because of this and that. I know those people in the league, I guess, aren't around anymore that were giving them a hard time.
That's the thing, though. They say that beginning mid-season, but at the end of the year, when a graduating player wants to leave the Fire and come back,
they go
to
right
the
to
OLA.
Warriors. Yeah,
we're told that he can't, that he's Grand River Warrior property, which is fine.
Yeah.
It will make the league easier to sustain, but that needs to be communicated on their end. This is what happens.
Just almost kind of like, would you say Rebels players are your rates? Or not as much?
It's based on location.
Yeah.
It is assumed, but I mean the Rebels could apply and affiliate with Innismore if they want it. Not that they'd want to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is that a shot?
But like we said in
Shots
the past of Wilmot Junior C and Six Nations Junior C both AP to Rebels, or now we're saying Ganawage is gonna get to AP with Arrows, and that's cool. I guess they can't AP technically any Alqui players because now they're going to AP with St. Catharines. Why they AP with St. Catharines? St. Catharines is hosting the Minto Cup, so some of those players may be able from Alqui to go to the Minto Cup with St. Catharines. Kind of, it's a guarantee St. Catharines will be in it as a host. Where with the Arrows, they have to actually kind of win the league or be the runners-up in the championship with St. Catharines.
It's a mess. Honestly, it's a mess because, like I said, we're affiliated with the Tomahawks. Yet I was able to pull players up from Wellington.
You were coaching U22 before. Those players were able to go to the year there was no Senior C. They were able to AP to Wilmot Junior C, Rebels, and Ganawage Junior B. Right. So those players you said they had to choose though at one point, right? Like
some of my guys that year ended up playing for 5 different teams. They played for my U22 or intermediate as it was back then. Call up to the Rebels, call up to the Rivermen, call up to Ganawage, and a couple of them even got the crack, then got called up to the Chiefs. So we were deemed unaffiliated. That team was deemed unaffiliated. That's how they were able to get called up to Ganawage. Because some of the guys, Ganawage came down for a kind of an Eastern swoop and were playing in Brampton, needed guys, and I sent 5 guys to. And for some of them, that was their first crack in Junior B. But it's a mess. In some ways, it's a good mess, and it's very hard for some to navigate. Like I said, I was APing players from Wellington Aces, even though I'm affiliated with the Tomahawks. It's then you get into how many games can this guy play, or how many games can this guy play? Is it unlimited when it comes playoffs? If they're beat out, or if they win a championship in C, can they play in the President's Cup? Or the OLA final for B. It's very, very hard to navigate.
Yeah, lacrosse is a mess. We love it. Hard to navigate. So much going on. But we do have to get out of here. It's getting pretty late. I've been looking at your clock right there. I see it in front of me. Yeah, it's getting pretty late. But I want to make sure everyone, if you love the show, subscribe to the podcast. Let us know some of the topics that you want us to cover. And just make sure you go to www.beyondpride.com and grab some merch as well. And if you want to sponsor the show, we have like some area back here where we can. Look at Vale.
Maybe we'll even set up a day as a sponsor. We can always come to your location and kind of help, make some extra posts and drive the business in.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I got black Sharpies in case Chris has to autograph anything.
Yep. I'll take the value down of any lacrosse ball.
Shit. You're on fire today.
Yeah.
Potter of the day today. You had
remix. That was the word I was looking for.
Remix. Yeah. All right, guys. That was Creators Game episode 23. Until next week. Oh, wait. We have Nick Rose coming on Tuesday. Dun, 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 dun. Stay tuned for the next podcast coming Tuesday, episode 23. We're out of here. Peace.